he just developed that second hand, thing. He would do chords like that. He showed me how to do it. I thought, well, that's cool, but I didn't think nothing of it. I thought, of course, if you put your fingers down, that's going to make noise, right? And I thought, well, it's a good trick. I use it for stupid little things. But Ed picked up on it with a vengeance.
Welcome back to Booked on Rock, conversations with authors, musicians, and insiders revealing the stories behind classic rock's greatest songs, albums, and artists. If you're enjoying the show, you'd like to support it, you can sign up for the Booked on Rock Backstage Pass on Patreon for just $5 a month. Get every episode commercial free and before everyone else. You can use the link in the show notes or visit bookedonrock.com. Now, on to our guest. I'm very excited about this. I'm joined by legendary guitarist Terry Kilgore, a longtime fixture of Southern California's rock scene, whose remarkable careers included close friendships with Eddie Van Halen and David Lee Roth, along with acclaimed guitar and songwriting work on Roth's solo albums. After surviving the devastating Eaton Fire that destroyed his home, studio, and treasured guitar collection, Terry is making an inspiring comeback with his brand new album, The Devil's in the Details, and he is here to share the incredible stories behind the music and the journey. Terry, thank you so much for coming on the show. And we also have
Glad to be here.
Kristy's with you as well. Kristy, you are singing on this upcoming album, right?
Yeah, writing the lyrics.
Doing a bang up job. Very different.
And singing. Then we produce together. I go in the studio sometimes we go together and for the production.
It's coming out different than anything I've ever done, but that's what I want to do. When you want to do things that you haven't done, you have to do things that you don't do. It's just that simple.
And the stage name is Korpus Kristy, right? I love that.
That's my stage name. Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, she plays out live more than I do. I mean, really, I'm desperately trying to make sense of a studio that's inside of an RV, and it's different. The gear is up to snuff. It's better than it ever been, but it's like when the fire hit. I mean, I wasn't thinking. Obviously, I'd take a $600 guitar and leave a $30,000 one to burn. It was like.
Well, you had a fireball coming at you, so you weren't thinking.
I've never seen the like of it. Nobody ever has, I don't think. And they shut the power off at 6 o'clock, and then they shut the water off at about 3 a.m.
Yeah.
And we just couldn't get it wet enough. It was aged redwood. My place was 140 years old, and it never had not a hitch. And then they try to say it was homeless people up there smoking cigarettes up in 2,000 feet up in a power tower. Then we come to find that all 26 towers that lead up to Silmar are all faulty, because they didn't want to upset their shareholders. So they burnt 9,000 structures, and their CEO got a $16 million bonus.
Unbelievable. That was almost exactly a year ago, wasn't it?
Well, a year and a half ago.
He's been in the RV for a long
Solid
time.
year. Let me tell you something. It might be fun on camping trips, but you don't want to live in one.
Yeah,
it's
too long.
With all the amenities, it's still a pain in the ass, because you're basically in a fiberglass kiln, and doing work in there. You have to have wind blowing on you all the time. So it stretches the opinion.
Yeah, so we spend time in the studio, we spend time playing here, and then he doesn't get out. You play out a little bit, but he goes out more.
It's like, when you played in front of a lot of people and you've done whatever, it's not much fun to play in front of 10, 12 people in these clubs. It's really gotten small out here.
That'll change.
It's small. I mean, if you go into the only places that we know that are really doing business are like beer bars and regular drinking bars that maybe have enough room to set a band up that has to stand amongst the audience, just like they're part of the clientele. So it doesn't have a stage-like feel to it.
And for me, I'm fine with anything. I'll play anywhere anyone asks me. And so we play a House of Blues quite a bit.
He's got a good off-the-cuff thing. You know what I mean? She can adapt quick. I can adapt, but it's just like you get used to it. I have a certain idea about how I want to be projected, and I haven't gotten to it yet because there's a lot of work involved.
You've been in the RV doing your life. I mean, so I think that you just need to give yourself a little bit of time and so.
Well, you take shit for granted because I had a beautiful studio, and I'm thinking I go in there and record any time. I'll wait till it gets cooler.
Yeah, and now it's just
doesn't work that day.
So he's got a bit of a life adjustment until everything sorts out and he gets his house back. Once he gets a house back, it'll change. But right now he's been uprooted. So yeah, he's not playing out like you used to, but that'll change.
Well, I would play out, but I don't want to play standards. I mean, I'm going to play that funky music, White Boy.
Oh,
yeah. That's not the place I came from.
You're going to play your originals.
And I think the guys that do that, they relegate themselves to that life.
Yeah.
If you play that kind of shit, people will devalue you to the point where you don't make any money at all.
I don't mind funky music right by, but he doesn't like
I didn't get paid to
that.
do this shit, and I was better when I got paid.
I think a belated birthday is in order, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. It's 71. You're so good.
I was going to say 71 years young.
Yes, that's
Yeah, I'm
right.
in better shape than some of them, but like
Yeah.
I don't know what Dave did to himself, but he looks bad.
Yeah,
He looks
Dave.
aged to me. And he was strong, believe me. When I worked with that guy, you never seen stronger fingers. He could take his middle fingers and put them on a door jamb and take his whole weight up down with it several times
And then when he would do those
because from
awesome
climbing
jumps,
and stuff. So he
Yeah,
was a
he's always
great
been in
athlete.
amazing shape. I think he's the same
Yeah.
age
Dave
as
would have
you,
been a great gym coach.
Yeah.
right? Or
Yeah,
a or a game
he's
show
really
host
into
like
the.
in Hot for Teacher.
The only thing that sometimes it backfires. I was sword fighting. Remember on Jimmy Kimmel, he kind of backfired on him.
Oh yeah,
He knocked his beak off.
exactly.
When you do that with your own sword, you got to look at that like, hey, if that was a blade, you'd be missing your schnoz now, you know?
Yeah,
Yes.
you grew up in a very musical family, right? In Altadena. Talk about that. Your father had a love of rock and roll, and your mother was a flamenco guitar player.
Yeah, well, I learned basically, I picked up the guitar. She played flamenco when it was a craze. In 1960, there was a big flamenco craze, and all the housewives were getting guitars and learning flamenco. And she got into a certain, my uncles taught her, and in real flamenco, you work on compas, your right hand, for a year before you ever touch anything over here. So it's like being a harp player, that you have to learn all those techniques and be able to play them in time. So my mom was a harsh judge, you know what I mean? My progress was slow. She goes, "You suck, you gotta do that." And she had a flamenco guitar that had action about that tall, so it was not comfortable to play. And then finally I got, my first, I think it was a 19 brand new 67 or 8 Telecaster. And after beating it up for a couple of years, I got an SG, and then everything. That's when the golden era started with the cool amps, the old 50-watt Marshalls, and the Goodman Audium speakers that were in high watts. And we got a really exotic, clandestine sound out of these things back then. And Ed had that. Ed Super League was the same one that they used at the Rose Palace for Reynolds, a 68 Plexi that John Zeta bought. And he played that thing to where I remember it was in 5150. All it was left was the chassis. The box was gone.
Yeah, Eddie Van
And he had
Halen.
it
Yeah,
hooked to a rheostat, a big rheostat, right? So Don Landy, really, you got to give Don Landy a lot of credit for that Van Halen sound.
rest in peace. Just passed away.
Well, that's what's dumb with that, that 1176 compression, like on Drop Dead Legs, where the chord comes in, boom. That's like really ingenious compression. So he used some good devices, and don't forget the legendary Eventide 910, which was on all Van Halen records, and all Ozzy stuff, because it got it had a really organic quality.
Is that what we're trying to get?
Yeah, I had one. I burned it up.
Yeah, I've had everything burned up.
You find them in special effects companies that do Foley and stuff like that, because it has keyboard players are crazy about it because it's a godlike quality, because it's got limiters and it keys up on certain keys to define the mix. But if you listen to what their progress was, the ones he was very frank to me about, I said, "Which one did you like?" It was Diver Down, I hated. So it was the worst record we ever
He's
did.
talked about that because too many covers. He
He
thought
didn't like Fair Warning either, and it was hostile. It was a hostile period because they got to the point according to Rudy Laren, who was Ed's guitar tech all those years, and Greg Emerson, who killed himself and committed suicide. Uh, it's a lot of the guys that we worked with did just that. I mean, Doug Birch, who we toured with, he was decapitated on his way to the Gorge to do sound for a concert.
oh
It
my
took him a day
God.
and a half to find his head.
Oh my God. Was Greg Emerson the one that they wrote the song for? It was a bonus track on Balance, Crossing Over?
I think so. Yeah, it was. I think something Ed conveyed, but Sammy did the vocals. It's going to be his own viewpoint. But they needed somebody like Sammy with the personality, because Van Halen was pretty snotty when they had Dave. I mean, they made people get those pick the brown M&Ms out of stuff, and they thought that would make them much more attentive to the. She didn't want to get in the bad end of those guys because with Sterling Ball and Ed were like this. They had houses in Saugus that had the golf course right in between them, so they'd meet on the golf course. They had a falling out over how much money Ed was getting off the Music Man guitars or whatever. So that went out the window. Everybody that's dealt with them had to they wanted more money. They're very European family. They kept their to themselves financially, and didn't let anybody in their deal, you know. And Dave was like ruthless. I mean, he just told them, you guys, when he was first with Van Halen, they were wearing, you know, Crotasackers and Pendletons and stuff, and that's what they did. And he said, you got to flash up a little bit. Started dressing Ed, you know, telling him what to dress in. And they were resentful at first, but friend of mine has we went to the Freak Ball, the annual Freak Ball at LAX, and this was 1973 or four, and a bunch of name acts, and Van Halen got a spot there. And I wish I could pull the pictures for that. A friend of mine has probably 300 pictures no one's ever seen, all 35 millimeter, you know, done on a Leica M5, black and white. Very cool stuff.
Alex wrote the book Brothers, and he doesn't write about the time with Sammy at all, and he doesn't mention Sammy. That they don't talk, like Sammy wants to talk with Alex, but Alex is not talking with that.
Yeah, he didn't. Apparently, Sammy became persona non grata, and they were completely opposite that. They were so thrilled to have him. And I tell you what, with all due respect, I mean, their top team, when they really started making money from Ed Leffler, Sammy's manager was Ed Leffler, and he made them a lot of money. When he died, the whole thing got to where why aren't you running this business? Ever was not a businessman. He wanted to play guitar. So he wasn't handling it. Sammy was way experienced at it and made a lot of money for him. And he took over. And they said, who's going to run this thing? Alex?
And then Ray Daniels stepped in. Ray Daniels.
Well, Sammy just kind of had his management, and he was trying to find another manager. And they said, hey, you're going to let Sammy run this. You know, people got in between us. Just like the hard to handle management got between me and Dave. Dave went off one night, and I called him out on it because I went to school with him. I said, fuck you, you're not going to do this to me. Yelling at the whole band, and we were so well rehearsed. I mean, but it was all of a sudden became apparent that this is going to be a Van Halen top 40 tour. And I was a friend with Everett, so it was an insult to me to have to play his shit. I didn't want to play it. But when you're with Dave, you're going to be stuck with that for the end of time. That was his thing. And I understand that, but I just soon got out of it because I was getting paid for the publishing. And mechanical royalties aren't that great out on the road these days. In fact, the people aren't even averaging $2,000 a week.
Is it publishing for the songs on Your Filthy Little Mouth, or is it?
Well, I had half that record. I mean, if I had 45% of the publishing of that record, and it just went platinum about a year ago after what, 20-something years? Because all of his stuff sells generally, it's on the Van Halen catalog list. So, but I haven't seen a whole lot of money from it. I mean, there was one incident where I asked for money and got it because he was holding my checks. I mean, Jesus Christ. Look no further than Diamond Dave Enterprises.
And right now is the time that you could use the money.
Yeah. Well,
so it's like more in his
forefront. They knows I'm in a jam, but I don't expect anything. I didn't expect anything from Everett. I mean, Everett said he's going to help get a record done in 1987. We worked on it real hard, but he had to go to Betty Ford so many times that year that the attention couldn't be given to it.
Yeah, and you had your income burn.
Hellacious motorcycle accident. I told him, I said, Ed, I've been driving motorcycles for 30 years. You should not be driving one. There's some guys that shouldn't drive them.
So right now you're owed money from Your Filthy Little Mouth?
I'm certain that a lot of sources owe me money. I haven't seen a dime.
And where does that stand? Have you spoken with attorneys?
22 songs published out there that I'm not making money on.
He speaks with attorneys for Edison, but right now, like his studio burned, so that was a source of income. His rental property burned.
It literally took my mom's ashes, my brother's ashes, my stuff. Everything's gone.
Yeah, I'm so sorry to hear that.
I mean, nothing left. And I wasn't thinking, you know, I was sitting there with Jamie Hunting out in the lawn chairs out in the front. I said, you know what? I did pretty well. Only a firestorm could take me out.
Right. There was a GoFundMe, and I know it was posted on the Van Halen news desk too.
My daughter raised $45,000 for me.
Yeah, thank you.
And I gave her a lot for her college. And she helped her mother and got her a car because we were gone.
So it definitely helped.
It definitely helped.
Thank you to anybody
a lot of my cousins and a lot of my friends came forward. I'm grateful as hell.
Yeah, very.
But you know what? This day and age, you got to make a lot of money just to live. I mean, it's got to be tough in Connecticut. The property taxes there.
Trust me, I have a day job that I don't necessarily love, but I got to make a living. And then I come home and I do this stuff, and I love talking to people like you.
I was in the vacuum tube business, and I retired. I finally retired. I gave a business over to a friend of mine, and I still get residual from it. But I'll tell you what, That was a damn good business compared to the music business in the last 20 years. It's been horrible. I mean, really, nobody signed a deal if you're an act that was established, like even Steve Piercy, and they struggle. Warren doesn't struggle though, but Piercy's out there playing a lot. We're killing him, basically killing himself. It's tough to go and tour around the country. The first thing you're going to get if go out in the spring or winter time, you're going to get pneumonia within 5 weeks because they don't let you sleep. You know what I mean?
Well, that was the tour you were on.
Yeah, well, Dave didn't make it. When you go out with Dave, it's not like fun and games.
Yeah, there's a lot of.
He gets mad at everybody, and you don't want to be a guitar player or sound or a drummer with that guy. He just, but now he doesn't say anything, but before it was like I was so important. It ruined a lot of fun times. We had great shows, but man, he was always so distant.
Was it Ray Luzier who said he was on the receiving end of one of those?
Yeah, Ron Wixow and Matt Bisonet was not real wild about him either. They went at it quite a bit because, Greg's could get along with anybody. You have to be kind of I don't know, gregarious type person to be around him and put up with it. Because if you get on his inner circle, he's going to start picking at you. He's a different guy. He's been that way since he was 14.
I have family members like that.
Since he was 14 years old, he's got a thing. His parents made him go to some juvenile delinquent class, and he never forgave them for it.
That's a question that people always have. Like, is the Dave that we see on camera on stage, is that the Dave that's, when the cameras are off, is he the same way?
No, it's not the same. And wherever you go, it's different. You go, well, we're going to get this. We're going to get this today. Or he's eccentric and he's funny, but, he plays weird games. I mean, Robin Ford got mangled up by his Rottweilers. Esther and Clara, he gave up, or his aunts, right? He'd make me walk by the cage. I said, the dog's going to bite my genitals off. I'm going anywhere near this thing, and
right.
Yeah, they were like little boys. They lived in the rooms of the mansion with a mattress that's all tore up. It's like this the dog's rooms. He had a big place. His place was originally owned by J.P. Doherty. Doherty was one of the guys that was sitting on the board of directors with Rockefeller when Teddy Roosevelt made him split the world up.
Oh, wait, you're talking about the mansion that Dave lives in now?
Yeah,
right.
It was on Orange Grove.
Yes.
And that was his summer home. His winter home was in Pennsylvania, where the oil was, of course. But it was a beautiful place. I mean, it goes
but he still lives
all
there,
the way
right?
down that
He
slope.
still lives there.
He's worth $35
million. Get out for weddings, doesn't he?
Well, yeah, he did for a while because it's not really financially solid.
Well, yeah.
And then he sold his publishing, and my question is, where did my end of that publishing get sold? I want something too.
I heard him talk about that.
That just happened, so that's brand
But
new.
Dave was never big on promoting. Ever since Steve Vai really got a hand up from Dave, he really did. I mean, Steve sold more records than Dave did on the next record when he was away from him.
Oh, Whitesnake.
And he didn't ever forget that. He was about to help anybody else really.
Wow.
Here, I'm going to put you forward. He got mad at me. He took away all my interviews, all the magazine stuff. So I was basically an unknown, but as unknown as I was when I went in, because I went out only to the people that knew me, the people I knew in the business in New York, which is better than LA. I tell you, I was the 802. Local 47 didn't do shit for me. 802 got me the job.
You had to have thought, when you're chosen to be the guitarist for Dave's album, you had to have thought, like, you saw what it did for the careers of Vai.
Well, I figured I was going to go up a couple of rungs, but then I really looked at for Jason Becker. I felt bad about picking up because he was done. Because ALS is like he said, he went across the street, he just stopped. He couldn't move. Couldn't take another step. And he's lived longer than anybody I've ever heard of with ALS.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah, he's how old is he now?
He can only move his eyes.
Yeah, they gave him a limited time and he is still going. A friend of his I've been in contact with and interviewed him, and he said he's such an inspiration, man. He's just
he's got a great musical mind, and the thing is, he balanced the trickery with the musicality. Whereas sometimes, like George Lynch, a good buddy of mine, and I kind of helped him in the beginning learn how to pendulum pick. He believed that George didn't know you had to double pick the guitar. This is 45 years ago. And I said, try this. He goes, wow, that's, back and forth. It was something that somebody showed me, when I was a kid. And George has always touted me, and he's a great technician, much better technician than I am, but the musicality gets a little bit out there. It's scary stuff. I mean, it's like, it's got good tonality, but there's The royal ear, you know what I mean?
On your filthy little mouth, I want to ask you about that because you have such a feel on the guitar. And when I was listening to that album just today before this interview, just to listen to all the songs that I love, which are your "She's My Machine," "Big Train," "Experience," the title track, "Land's Edge." You have such a great
And
feel,
that's kind of cool.
right? And that album is so interesting because it's got like country, it's got reggae, it's got jazz, it's got blues,
Yeah, they
country.
really stretched me on that
So
one.
yeah, what
It was interesting.
when you sat down with him to go over the game plan on that, what was he saying to you? Like, here's what we want to do because we brought in for the producer was Now
Now,
Rogers,
Roger,
right? So what was he saying to you? Like, here's what I'm looking for, because
Now
your
was good at the
style
reggae
is so
stuff.
unique. It's not like anything
Well, they
else that
went
we've
back
heard.
out there with Steve Hunter and did a little bit of luck. But Steve is, with Mitch Ryder, the Detroit Wheels, that he knew that whole genre. And I put a guitar track on top of it and did well, but it was a mood. He was trying to get, it was like his art project. And I thought, I like the hard rock stuff, but in New York, it's not really the mecca for hard rock and roll recording. It's good, you could do it, but the Hit Factory was like, you know, they were going through a transition. They built that second factory down on 54th. Remember when the blimp fell over the building like a prophylactic hanging off the skyscraper there? It was funny, but with Dave's, he would get in these mood swings and, we're going to do this and do that and then take it this way. And the whole process was fun, but then all of a sudden writing songs for Travis Tritt. I mean, there was one weekend I went to New York from California 3 times in a weekend to do one guitar correction. That's how extravagant it got. I mean, the budget was, this is back in 93, when it was not, the music business was getting ready to implode, you know?
But
Because
it
in
was a
98,
risky move on Dave's part because we're talking about the climate of music at the time. It was grunge era, right? So I always wondered, I thought maybe he was trying to try different styles to see what's going to stick and where he
well, we
wants to
were in
go
that
from
glam
there.
thing, downtown. And remember, in Sunset Boulevard in those days, you couldn't put a flyer on a pole because there were so many staples on so many flyers that you literally couldn't put anything on a pole. You couldn't post handbills, and you were getting in trouble for it. I mean, the Pasadena police took me to jail.
Really?
Yeah, they took me to jail, and I had to clean off we were using sticky glue to put our ads up for the weekend gigs. And if you didn't do that, if they don't know, they're not gonna, this is pre-internet, right? So it was a lot of, you did a lot of canvassing and stuff like that. And that Van Halen had all kinds of people doing it for them. What made them what they were was Steve Tortomasi and Bob Haley's, whatever. Tortomasi had worked at the Civic Auditorium in Pasadena. So he had an inn and they made a fortune on Van Halen. And they had him there. And Warner Bros. Was looking and going, wait a minute, these guys are filling up the Pasadena Civic and our signed acts aren't filling up Santa Monica Civic. So that's what garnered the attention. Then Milton Berle sent his nephew and his crooked nephew in
Yeah.
there, took all
Yeah.
the money for the first grant. They came up hard. I remember those guys. I would say they sacrificed a third of their life
Yeah. They
for
worked
those
their
first
ass
three
off.
tours.
Sure.
It was relentless. They did 300-day tours in 3 years in a row. So he would come home. You could tell he hadn't slept in 2 months. I mean, and every time he got back, he was even more voracious coke addict. I mean, voracious.
Who we talk about, Dave or Ed?
Nothing seemed to affect him. No, Ed.
Oh, Ed. Yeah.
Ed was. I think that they went experimented beyond their where they actually were tired of it, you know.
Yeah. Wow.
Because I remember it really messed him and Valerie up. They just did not get along because Ed would hide, And I remember going up there many times, going, "Did you sleep last night? You wear the same clothes?" And it just you start to deteriorate on the drug itself. But I'll tell you what, it never really affected his creativity, his guitar playing,
No, it didn't.
because
No.
he was at it all the time. And he had that beautiful board from the one that they recorded Ben Hur on. The
Yes.
first United Artists Uri console that Don rewired it. It had the big knobs. That thing had tone up the butt. You didn't have to do anything. Just turn it on and go through it. It was like magic.
When was the last time you spoke with Eddie?
Well, he sent me a bunch of amplifiers for that tour, like 450, 150 stacks. I think he was trying to thumb Dave going here. And I used them. During the tour and then afterwards, I wanted to thank him. I told him we kind of made amends because we had a falling out over a certain financial thing that I had to have handled and it wasn't being handled. So you know, it was stupid shit. I mean, at the time it seemed big, but I saw him at the Monsters of Rock, and we talked for about half an hour, and he just seemed like he was distant. You know what I mean? Like he moved on from his old friends at Pasadena. There was really nothing that we could share that was any more than a laugh, you know. And they ran into different people. I mean, he was in a different whole mode of, you know, I feel privileged because I was one of his real friends from the old days.
Yeah. When did you first meet him? I'm curious to know when you first met him and what was your impression of him? He was quiet, right?
I met him at a place called Barry and Grassneck when I was 13. And I knew about him because we played the first gig together. My band opened up for his band over on Allen Street.
And
And
what was your band called?
Ready Kilowatt?
just
Oh, it
jam.
wasn't ready. It wasn't Ready Kilowatt.
No, it was pre-Ready
That's
Kilowatt.
later.
This is when Van Halen was called Trojan Rubber Company.
Yeah. What a
They had
name.
Frank Sousa on bass who couldn't play worth the shit. And then I had two guys that I played with. And the guy that played drums that night, his sister threw an iron at his face and knocked both of his front teeth right out of it.
Oh my God.
And he came in smiling like that. We were laughing so hard. And we played kind of a funk rock and roll beats the Who. You know, it was like something I wanted to put together. We played some standards, but they played all Cream stuff and only Cream. But they did it exactly like the record with no vocals. You know, we're high school, you know. Then I saw him again at another gig. We started hanging out, and he had a Volvo, 59 Volvo 160. Remember those?
Oh yeah.
They look like an old tile. They got a cockroach back on them, you know.
Is that the one that he had to tie? He had to use guitar strings to
guitar strings to the doors, yeah. I remember driving with him down Orange Grove, and his girlfriend's in the front seat. She gave him a bunch of shit, and he stops the car, unwinds the string on this side, goes over, unwinds the string on the other side, goes up, yanks her out of the street, shuts the door, gets back in, takes off. And me and Alex were sitting in the back seat going, well, you better turn around and pick her up. And he goes,
Yeah.
The funny thing about Ed was that everything was like this. Even when he was a multi-millionaire, he'd go, gotta smoke. Yeah. Everything was fuck. And he even had a Ford emblem that said fuck. You know, it's for the Ford emblem. That was his word. He tried to explain to people what you have to go through to deal with them. I mean, they dreaded the record people, dreaded them because, you know, I talked to Tucker Carlson and we went off with Dave's record, went off at 430 ads, which is like, man, you're going to be rich. And I was like, yeah, we're going to make some money, act right. And by the time we got to Kansas City, we'd done about 11 gigs back east, and we were coming back in Midwest and then going south. Tucker goes, we're in trouble, we're underwater here. You only got 100 ads left. And I thought, oh, fuck. I said, so I'm going to be living in a dog kennel instead of owning it, right? He goes, pretty much. So we knew what we were in for, but
well, I remember that tour in the beginning. There was
soured out on the audience.
Did he?
Yeah, he took it out on the audience, and they fucking pelted us. I mean, Jesus Christ. Jamie got a lighter in the face. I got a shoe on the side of my. People were taking their clothes off and throwing that, and not because we're popular. We should have one of those baseball diamond things, you know, where like they did in the Blues Brothers. They beat the hell out of us. We were all bleeding, and
it was quite a risk though with the music that he recorded on that album because it wasn't of the time, right? And now, if you listen to it now, it's. I really urge those who listened to the album back then and may have given up on it, listen to it now, right? Yeah, without the context of the scene of the music at the time, which was grunge, and without the expectations of what we were expecting from a Dave album. Just listen to it as an individual piece of work, and it's
you're
really
a real
good.
listener, and that's a good thing to say because everybody says the same thing. What I have when I write songs, I mean, when I write something on the guitar, I try to make it like, it wouldn't matter what year it came out, you're going to remember something about it. If you don't, how could I distinguish myself if I was Everett's best friend and I played just like him?
Yeah, no, you played your own style, man.
No, I did my own
and
thing.
I'm going to tell you this, Terry. I really think now he did a great job producing it, but I wanted you up in the mix more.
They kept burying me, and it was like Gary Toll was a good mix guy, but John Goldberger was shit. And these are New York guys. I'm saying, look at my demos were better than that record. I mean, as far as the vibe, you have to create this muddy vibe where, yeah, you could add something to this and make it into something. And that's what Nile Rodgers told me. He goes, that's what you got this gig for, because you could set that picture up. When Dave looked like he looked at like this, look at, I want this. I know exactly what he's talking about. I know exactly what he's talking about. So I do that. I know all his euphemisms. He was, I want it to go, so here comes the cloud, it covers the sun, and then the sun comes back out. It's like no big thing. It lights like that.
I'm gonna say I like that song. I have a friend who doesn't. I love No Big Thing, but a
It's
friend of
got
mine.
all the classic reggae drop progressions and ska stuff, and it was done well. But and he sings it actually pretty good. I mean, he's talking about he's a good lyricist, I'd say. Some of his lyrics are great.
That well, he was changing his approach lyrically, and also vocally. He had used a different approach. Like he'd reached a different octave,
He
and it
wanted to
was
go out to like Michael Franks and Bonnie Raitt and stuff like that. I said, I know exactly where you're going. If you want me to get you there, you got to get. And he'd get mad. I said, look, if you could rant and rave all you want, it's going to take 10 days to squeeze this thing out to lay this egg. Are you done yet? I said, I haven't even started the progression yet. I mean, then he finds something he likes. Then he'd give you got to play it like every Van Halen song had a street fight man beat to it. The popular. That's where they picked it up. And then Al took kind of hot rod to shuffle on it. I was listening to Jeff Vaccaro. Vaccaro was brilliant shuffle, man. That one that he picked up, he took from his dad and John Bonham. He just had that.
amazing drummer.
It swung on its own. You know what I mean? It's like a perfectly firing engine that's timed. The valves are working right. It just synchronized. And I thought that we had that, but Dave had a lot of trouble with drummers on that record. We had Larry Aberman, who was an Eastman grad. He was way too stiff. Ray Brinker from Pat Benatar's outfit, and then Ron Wixell. Wixell was probably the most fearless of all of them, but he was by no means the best one. We had Bob Birch come in on bass. Bob killed himself, Elton John's bass player.
Oh, and he does a fantastic job
He
on
asked
bass
about
on
Dave,
that.
what's he like? And I told him, he goes, oh, why do they always have to be that way?
And the drums, I mean, everything was it was pristine
John
production.
Reagan was
Where
really a great. I miss him. You know about John, right? He was up in Poughkeepsie. That's where he was from. Where they get? What's the name of that town up there?
Poughkeepsie, New
Wappinger
York, you're
Falls.
talking about. Oh, Wappingers Falls.
Wappinger Falls. They lived. He come down in New York, but he did a lot of records. He worked for Pete Frampton for years.
Right. And wasn't he on Ace Frehley's
He
band?
played all the bass on the record. I know that much.
Yeah. Yeah. Steve Hunter, rhythm guitar on one track. John
We had
Regan,
Tony Beard
bass.
who passed away. Tony was lived in Old Greenwich, Connecticut.
Okay. Yeah.
Tony
And
Golay was the one that sung that Chevrolet commercial back in the early '90s.
oh wow.
Couldn't drive worth a shit. There's like 5 Jaguars in the garage. It's all twisted up.
Yeah, John Regan was in Ace Frehley's band. Yeah, Ace Frehley's Comet, 84 to 90.
Yeah, John was a prince of a guy.
But getting back to that, like, yeah, I thought I would have loved to hear in some spots, your guitar's up in the mix, but in others, it's buried more like a pop record, I guess. But your guitar was driving those songs. And the other one I forgot to mention is Everybody's Got the Monkey would have been a single. I always thought that was it would have been a great
song.
Well,
that was Frank Simons' tune, and I thought it was a worthy song, but he just didn't. He was emphasizing trying to sell "Filthy," that one line, the title track,
right?
And then You Never Know, which was like a Robert Johnson thing I put together. It just had that. He said mentioned Bonnie Raitt. I said, I'll give you something that Bonnie Raitt would do. And that was my talent. I could lean into that. She's more of a country thing, so I'm leaning kind of country into it, and it's giving us a different effect because she comes from a whole different place, and that's kind of what I wanted.
Yeah,
because you can't control it. See, I learned from Dave, you can't control everything, and that's what his problem is. He has a control freak, and ever turned into a control freak. They wanted this. And if you look at Sammy, with all due respect, when Dave's dad called Van Halen up and said, "Listen, he wants to get back with you guys. You can make real money." Alex said, "With all due respect, we have 12 top 10 hits with this guy."
I remember that
They
story.
went from 20 million to 70 million. So there's no disputing it.
I thought that Dave probably expected to be back before the end of the 80s. I don't think he expected Sammy to succeed.
Yeah, he did. But when as he said that on stage, when Beck was on the stage, that the artist.
Oh,
Beck,
yeah, 96 MTV Video.
That was the last time I talked to Ed. He said, I want to kick his balls up around his head. Because, Ed and him always they never got along.
No.
Never. And he would listen to them, but they were not. After that second tour, Rudy said that by the time that 1984 came out, he said they were all in separate buses. They didn't speak to each other, even the brothers.
And who knew? Right. And who knew? On the outside, all the fans were just thinking, man, they must be all happy as.
Everybody had their own entourage, and it's the people they could stand to be around on the road that they had control of, because when you have all that conflicts, like when we got off, we did Luis Munoz Stadium as a kickoff in San Juan, Puerto Rico. Flew over to Miami, and here the buses are waiting for us. Well, there's an old American Eagle that's got 300,000 miles on it with, tippet bearings that make more noise than a washing machine, an old washing machine. Then you have the brand new Prevost. Guess who gets the Prevost? The crew. And total, but wait a minute, that's our, So we had to ride in the American Eagle, and it was like, we were kind of like, the roadies were much better revered than we were. They were seasoned. I mean, this is my first tour around the country. I knew what to expect, but it's like, my God, it was so cold. And we'd be left outside those vestibules after the gig, and Dave would be talking to somebody on the bus and let us on, or something going on like that. And me and James, we came down with pneumonia like the first 3 weeks of that tour, and I had it about 5.5 months. That's, because you travel, it kills all the vitamin C in you. And you got to we were running for those B12 shots. I mean, you couldn't get your pants off fast enough.
Yeah, I told you before we started recording, I saw you at the Sting in New Britain, which is no longer there. The Sting in New Britain, Connecticut. That was October of '94, I believe. I just graduated from college. Green Day's Dookie was the big thing, and I just remember my brother and I went to see you play there, and that is now, I think, a CVS. Something,
I remember that. I'll tell you another thing. There's the funniest thing we started seeing is that on the second leg, before I quit, there was half the crowd there with them on the first leg. It just wasn't the sales. It was not, I don't think it was his fault. Motley Van Halen record fell in the dirt.
It was a difficult time to be a rock and roll band that came out of the 70s or 80s. It was like,
well, the fun part was when we and Ever went to a lot of places. I went to 90. They played Guitarist 94 times. I was there at least 65 times of that. Mm-hmm. Nothing to do as a kid. Thursday night, we'd go out for Thursday or Friday, go down there, and I watch them do what they had to do. And it was like they worked really hard, and they were really poor.
Yeah, you had to have known, obviously, seeing Eddie play, like, yeah, this guy's going somewhere, but also Dave as a
I knew it when he was 12 years old. I thought, geez, I got some work to do.
Right.
And I was more than fair hand. I mean, because I had guitar experience up to yin yang. In fact, much broader than ever. Ever's very, but he knew what was good. Back in those days, listen, 1977, 8, and 9, guitar was a black art. There was guys that could play it, but we didn't know what the hell we were doing. You got chromatic scales, diminished, and all that, and start combining them and sliding out of them in and raising the fifth and doing whatever. And I just wasn't afraid because with Ever, you had to go balls out even to get close to what he was doing. They were a force to be reckoned with, and they didn't even know it. Like they couldn't rehearse at their place loud when they got Mike. When Mike got in the band, they got rid of Mark Stone. They would want the Snotty Scotty and the Hankies, and they got jealous. And Ever went out and drove his car through their garden and did donuts and like juvenile delinquent. But Ed was when they played the Imler's house. I mean, God, they were bringing 2,000 people in backyards back then.
Yeah, there was a place with huge yard. And
when they signed, it was like I had a free ticket then because they were gone, and we still had that kind of audience. So we reverbed off that for about 5 years. Then we had to go out and find another crowd. They were playing Madame Wong's and with Susie and the Banshees and Dwight Yoakam, and a lot of people were out there playing for very little money.
What was your opinion of Michael Anthony? We haven't talked about him yet. He seems like a great guy.
He's the nicest guy in the world. I think Mike. I stood next to him in one of those. What is this? The Olies. Like, the Ace Garden Center. He was buying a hose. I'm looking like this. I didn't say nothing to him because I've known him so well I remember when he came in late 72, he had his gear was nice. He had a Chevrolet Kingswood wagon. Here's Ever now driving those Opel Cadets. Oh my God.
The Opel Cadet.
Dave had an Opel Cadet wagon that was like, he has it mounted on the wall at his house now with a deer stuck in his mouth. He's crazy. When you go up the stairway, you go up the spiral staircase, you start walking down the hall to his bedroom. He's got at least 100 platinum records up there, right? He turns around, looks at me, and goes, cuts down on the foreplay. But he was the most asexual person I've ever seen. He never, ever was with a woman I remember him seeing with.
Who, Dave?
Never.
Wow.
He'd hang out with them, but no girl, no woman took possession of that place. He had no girlfriend. In fact, I know a girl that was crazy about him. I said, don't do what I think you're going to do. She followed him in to the gate. When the gate opened up, she came in hard behind him. She got chewed out bad for that.
Wow.
I mean, it's just like one of those guys, he'd call me up and go, "You gotta get down here." I'd be down waiting in the front. He goes, you hear the intercom go, "What are you doing camping out over there?" It's like, "Look, you told me to be here. I rang the bell."
He's got a room that's dedicated strictly to all of his outfits on stage and
About
sunglasses.
that long. When he's irritated, if he doesn't get his nap, he doesn't get his coconut soup in the morning, look out. Ed Anderson, who was his liaison, oh my God. Ed got caught selling his underwear on eBay, and that was the end of that.
Mm.
And Kieran McClellan and Migliotti, the guys that were putting together his Dave TV or whatever, they got him for like age discrimination. And I was going to work with him. He wanted to do 10 more songs with me. I said, listen, with all due respect, after the DLR band, I'm not really in a hurry to give my music away for nothing.
Now you have one song you want to put on our album, right?
Yeah, it was a song called Dirty Work. He loved it. I thought, yeah, well, I'll give it to you, but you got to give me 10 grand for it. And you can put your name on it. I don't care if you mention me. Because he's not real good at promoting his friends. I mean, ever since Steve Vai, there's a little ego thing in there, a little bit of narcissism. All lead singers have it. It's called LSD, lead singer's disease.
I'm a lead singer.
No, but
Present company
you know what
excluded.
You're doing. Michael, I think Mike was really shortchanged by Van Halen. They turned him into an employee. That was the last straw. That showed me that, okay, this guy's been with them since the very beginning. He was the backbone of their backing vocal squad. You take Mike Anthony out there, you ain't got no backing vocals in there. He was a great, I don't know what you'd call him, a tenor, but the guy could hit the notes. And he had that like pipe-like voice. I don't think it was really a lead singer's voice. He sang lead, but he complimented Ted Templeman saw what their deal was. The only reason they got away with all that is that Letterman style Brooklyn Bridge backing vocals.
Right. Almost like the Beach
And Mike
Boys.
performed it because Dave could sing it along with him, but Ed's voice was plain, in tune but plain. You wouldn't look at it like it was a lead vocal. And I had a lead quality vocal, but I hate singing. Never liked it. The joy of it means that I've got to do two jobs to get paid once.
That's what he tells me. Yeah, because he's gonna on one of the songs.
When I started singing, we did all the trio stuff, ZZ Top stuff. After singing, I'd be so exasperated, I couldn't figure out what solo I wanted to do. It took a long time to get used to doing that. And then you just cut loose because we didn't know what the hell we were doing. But in doing that, you learn how to improvise. I mean, I had a guy come over to my house, a black guy that was a stand-up bass player, ate up all my spaghetti and meatballs, smoked up all my weed, took all my money, and then he set up a show how to improvise. And he just, no, you're too white. You just stick off the beat. And after about 8 hours of him beating the shit out of me, I kind of picked up on it. I was better at, on the fly, and I have a good memory. So if I did something on the fly, I remember, let's do that. But they were bits and pieces back then. All you had to do was get a riff. You were badass. There was a lot of gigs, a lot of opportunities because Van Halen's weren't around anymore. If you want to get anybody that could play cohesively, you're going to get my group or Smile or Snow, one of those guys.
When did you form Ready Kilowatt?
77, 76. Yeah, the drummer, he passed away. I hate that really got to me because he had a lot of, it was the same thing. He wasn't a very good drummer when it came down to it, but in those days, we pushed it so hard that we were actually kind of lame good. If you came to see it, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get some good chops, and the tone was right, it had to be just so. But we really didn't know what the fuck we were doing. I mean, there was a band, Uncle Sam, that played all the standards like the Led Zeppelin to the bone. And Mick Mars, Mick was Mick Deal. He was in a band called White Horse. And they played guitar along with Van Halen, and they did exact copies. Dancing Days, they did Zepp very well. Mick was a great player and a very nice guy, He didn't get half the I asked him if really when they did Girls, how much money did you made with Motley so far? It was about $600,000. And I thought, $600,000? I gave you grocery money compared to what they took, I mean, it's like, that's what they did to Michael. I mean, how would you feel? You were a quarter partner, and then they changed the deal. They reshuffled the deck and go, you're an employee now. And he shut his mouth and took it, That's like sad.
It is. It is.
If they did that to him, they'd do it to anybody. And I thought, man, these guys have changed. And a lot of people got mad about it. A lot of people that were in Pasadena, that were their good friends, they just, bon voyage, we don't see you no more.
Why do you think they got rid of Noel Monk as their manager?
Noel had it. Noel was the Sex Pistols manager. That's where he came from, because the Sex Pistols were a bunch of fuck ups, and they got all the promotional money to take off. When Marshall Burroughs stole all of Van Halen's money, they crawled in under the door, according to Ever. He said, then we had to work. And Rick Derringer's wife, Liz Derringer, used to write for Rolling Stone or something. She said, you guys are going to be on the road the rest of your life. And she was right. They did like 1,500 days out there. All four records were toured the same. I mean, they did every possible gig they could do. When you do, sometimes two shows a night, and then Alex, that light truss helped landed on his head in Italy. Denver killed him. If he had to be wearing that neck brace, his head would have fallen off, you
Oh
know.
my
And
God.
Dave injured himself. Everett broke both of his wrists.
Dave did a split in his head on the disco ball, I think, or
Mm.
something.
Yeah. I mean, it's dangerous, a dangerous trade when you look at it like that. They were rough and tumble, but when you reach that point where you still think you're a kid, but you're 40 years old, 42 years old, you go about a roller rig and all of a sudden you bite the you bite the rail, I don't see how they possibly have the energy. It's a different world now, you know.
Sure. Dave was doing the splits right up until like 02, 03. I
Oh
mean,
yeah, he did it all the way through our situation, but I remember that he was paying out about $18,000 a week for those buses and the crew, and it's like, geez, I mean, you better be making some money out there because ICM Premier Talent don't exist anymore. There's no map. Like Pete was with Dave all those years, the Picasso brothers, right?
yeah, Pete
Pete
Angeles.
Angeles. Pete owns the Black Crows. He's their manager. So he had the map, and he heard the record Filthy, and he didn't want anything to do with it. I was kind of offended. I thought, hey, I did well on that. Wrote good songs. It wasn't that. He just saw that Dave was losing his mind because he said, look, you can't portray this Sting kind of a thing. You don't have the talent that Sting does. I mean, it's not going to be the same kind of thing that Sting would put together.
Right. He cut
But
his
he did
hair,
touch
looked
them.
like Sting. Yeah. Had
And
that look.
what I like Dave did was his blues. He's great blues. He could have been a great blues singer.
Hell yeah. The cover
The
of
thing that he was best at, he didn't like to do at all.
Nightlife. Willie
Yeah,
Nelson's
well, he
Nightlife.
did a great job on that.
As did you.
And Steve Hunter was the inspiration for that. He goes, I don't know who did I think the solo was done by, it was a piano solo by champion Jack Dupree. And I transposed it, and it just had that emotional. But there was only a few, with Dave, you got a few little emotions. It was like a circus act, okay? Here's the monkey, you eat these peanuts now, and then do your flip and get the poodles.
Right.
You know,
Well, does he need somebody like what he was with Van Halen to kind of keep him on track?
yeah. Well, see, he had his own but this is funny.
He's
We were
very
in Japan.
restless creatively, you know.
I'm sitting here with Tuggle and Jamie and me, and we're sitting here, and we're really the core of the group, the bass player, guitar player, keyboard player. And we're sitting like this, and if the tour catalog came out, I said, oh, good, they're going to have pictures of us. There wasn't one.
Nothing.
There wasn't one of us. It's one of Jamie. You can barely make it. Mike's way down at the end of the stage, and it says musicians. And the names are like, look at, I got to put my bifocals on so I can see who these people are. And Ed Ederson said, what do you think of it? And I threw it at him. I was furious.
Yeah,
I thought,
that kind of pisses me
we're
off.
part of this group, you know.
Yeah.
And I had a phobia for playing Everett stuff. I had to have Jamie's brother show me how to play jump because psychological block. I did not want to learn his stuff. The magic to me was when when I learned Jimi Hendrix stuff, I thought that's all it is. It's what you got to put the mojo on it, and that's what we had the old days. We don't have that now. I mean, I still have a little bit of it, but the mojo when you put like Warren was the same way. He told me this is Warren's philosophy about the music business. He said, take all your money, he said, cash it out, everything, cars, the whole deal, all your instruments. He said, go up to Las Vegas and start shooting craps. He said, you got a lot better chance of making a living doing that than being in the music business. Because they also had Marshall Burroughs, so they took a hit too. But Warren didn't have to worry about that because he's one of the heirs to the Mars Candy fortune. He really doesn't have anything to worry about.
Yeah, I heard about that, man. And he's a great player.
Milton and Marvin, I don't know if his dad was Milton or Marvin, but he's always handled his money well. It wasn't Warren was the guy, the first guy to give me a break. I got my first royalty money from a Rat Detonator album. They
Which song? Which
All or Nothing.
All or Nothing. Oh, okay.
That's my rip. Warren he mentioned me in magazines all the time. He's a very generous guy. And I've been to his house many times. His kids are all grown now, but I remember when they first moved up on Laurel, he was very nice. He's been with the same woman for years. She was a rock and roll photographer, and he's a very even-tempered, nice guy. He really is. He helped people. He financed a lot of my recordings back then at Silver Cloud. Joe Floyd, the Warrior Band, he was also a great player. Joe was a great mix man. You pick up stuff all the way along. I used to go like, people go, why come you haven't got any compressors? Because I don't know how to use one. When you
We have
learn,
one now.
it's fun. That's what I'm thinking. What the hell do I grab that $200 guitar for? And I didn't pull my $8,000 Focusrite, get the hell out of that rack and take it and put it in the trunk. You don't think of that when the house burned down.
Did you show Eddie finger tapping, or that's
Well, Chris Holmes of Wasp actually was responsible for it because I was giving Chris lessons at a music store right here in this town, Sierra Madre. And Chris saw me getting a beef with a guy. I traded him a Les Paul for a 65 number 5 Firebird, which I was about to trade. He wanted it back. I said, "Now you got a box for it." Beat the shit out of the guy. Chris goes, "Man, you know how to fight." I said, "Those guys they were school kids." And he goes, my friend Don Ivers got in a fight with Harvey Mandel's son at a school." I thought, well, why are you telling me this? Because I know where he lives. And I worshiped Harvey. I thought he was one of the greatest players of the early 70s. He just developed that second hand, thing. He would do chords like that. And he got that kind of a freestyle. But he didn't take it where Ed took it. But he showed me how to do it. I thought, well, that's cool, but I didn't think nothing of it. I thought, of course, if you put your fingers down, that's going to make noise, right? And I thought, well, it's a good trick. I use it for well, like, stupid little things. But Ed picked up on it with a vengeance. And he hated two things. He didn't like doing that, and he didn't like playing Stratocasters. So he reparated everything with, the secondhand thing where he really extrapolated it. But it's so used now that I wouldn't dare do it. When he went to tremolo bar, I used to play a Strat. He went to a tremolo bar. I went back to a Les Paul. Because, I had a responsibility. I was his friend. I didn't want to be identified like some little clone toady
right?
that, what I'm
Sure,
saying?
sure.
I was
You want
trying
to
to
be
keep
your
my
own
own
guy.
identity, however goofy that was. And uh, I would rather have mine than somebody else's. Like I told Dave, I said, I'd rather be a captain in my own rowboat than be a first mate on your battleship.
Sure.
He doesn't have the same kind of vibe as a guitar player. He
No,
still
it's
uses
different.
the
Yeah.
guitar I gave him, the classical single 132 that he uses on stage. But I can't figure out why he doesn't stretch out a little bit and do something different. Because the Van Halen thing is that's all you're going to be known for. I would not want to play that set into eternity. Songs are great, but I didn't feel like I could really camp up, jump, and go through all that big deal. So I just played it real stock like Al plays it. And those guys got a gravy gig. We had a hard gig. It was a lot of emotional stress, you know what I mean?
Oh, I would think, because that was a difficult tour, as you said.
Let's fly business class one way and then go on cattle car on the way out.
But you have your own tone. How would you describe your tone? It's got a really cool feel to it.
Ed used 100 watts, and I didn't really like the Marshalls like I like the high watt script logos, the 50s. Real hard to find. And we used to go to Nadine's music store. There's a big fat guy there that played guitar, and I liked it because he'd stuff a flying V down one of his pockets. He goes, "This is how you play one of these." And I said, "I like that Marshall because you got to hear the script logo." And I was $50 short of getting it, so I'm way out of the limb, getting $50 to buy. The Marshall was 400. I got that one, and I stretched another 450 up for the high watt. The tone I have is undeniably good. And Harvey had given me an EP1 tube Echoplex, which was a big part of that because it preamped the amps. And then we started using Eventide. That was like, wow, get this godlike tone. It was fun for backyards. It worked a lot of places, but then the bigger the places were, the less it would work. Because you got these big rooms, we played some horrible rooms, gymnasiums. They set gigs up everywhere. The best places to play really were outdoors because you could play so fucking loud and get a mix of some sort. And everybody struggled with PA systems. Nobody could get a more powerful. That's why Van Halen got Dave because he had an 850 acoustic PA
Right.
system. And then they
Yes.
upgraded it to what were those the Altec 1240s or whatever they were, voice of the theaters.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're so desperate that we went to Blair High School. My manager, me, we crawled up the sports towers and took the radiator slots, the big JBL radiator slots out of the public address for the games. Roped them down and built cabinets for them. We had
That's
the best
great.
PA in town. But we're using for a head. I used a 120-watt mat amp.
But I hear when I listen to Ready Kilowatt, just the one song is available online, Liquid Lady, and I listen to your Filthy Little Mouth or your songs on DLR Band. It's pretty similar, right? I mean, it's pretty consistent.
Well, I always use like, with Nile Rodgers, Nile had so much money. I mean, sick. I said, I need a Telecaster for Everybody's Got the Monkeys. That's what I felt that would be the best sounding thing because Dave wasn't letting me use my organs. And they brought a Neve Kelso in, which I said, anything, you could fart through one of those things, they sound great. But I said, well, I want a Telecaster. He goes, what year you want? So what do you mean? He goes, I got all the years. I mean, from 1951,
All the years.
broadcaster all the way down to a 65. I said, give me a 58. He goes, Andy, go get him a 58. Comes out, it's a beautiful blonde 58, so powerful. I mean, 10 times more gain than a regular Telecaster. And I nailed it, but it was an easy thing. He goes, it's a Van Halen song. Basically, Frank built it like a Van Halen song. Da-da-do-do.
Right.
It had interesting timing, but for some reason it didn't fly. He kept trying to get You Never Know to do it, and I thought it was a little left to center. I'll tell you what, they loved that record. A lot of people really liked it, and I liked it, but we had a hell of a time playing some of them. Like You're Breathing It's a brilliant thing, but he turned into a rap song. I thought, this is not working for me. It was his own preference. It's his deal, but I did that record in 4 months, and it took him 3 years to finish it. I just sat around on payroll, just going, well, someday.
They get stale.
And think about how much music had changed from 91 to 94.
Yeah.
I don't even, that's the thing. By the time you get caught up, I understood the business then. It was ICM, William Morris, ICM Premier. They'll put you on the map. They'll take you out. The companies will even loan you the money to go on these tours, but you got to pay it back. And if you've got poor, response, and you don't have people out there canvassing the shit out of it, which they quit doing. When the Segrams did a buyout, it was like it was over right there. I had a deal lined up with David Geffen, and it was just went dead flat the day it was over.
Wow. Geffen.
Yeah. I had another group together that was pretty good. I had Chris Heilman on bass and Mike Sato on drums. And we were tight. We had a really cool sound, but it was getting to the point where it's like, gee, how long am I to keep selling the snake oil? It wasn't like the old days when we played Ready Kilowatt, we ape shit. I played a solo, I just rolled my eyes back on my head like a great white shark and start biting. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's awesome.
That's what you do, and people thought it was brilliant because it really was. You had to try to make it sound good. I participated more in my own style than I do now. Because you get wider. You have to be versatile with Dave. You got to be really versatile to get anything out of it because he has good background in music. I mean,
he really does, man. Yeah, he's got an appreciation for
like that.
He
said, I want you to listen to this record. I knew what he was doing.
Yes.
And Ed always admired Angus Young. He said he's the best of the best because how can you beat AC/DC?
Right. Him and Wolfgang always listened to Power Age. I think that was the album.
I saw Motley Crue many times because I really toured with them, and I know Mick real well. I sold him the 67 Plexi he used on Girls, Girls, Girls. I hated it, and he loved because it was the Jose mod, right? And Jose was like, his mods were like Radio Shack, but they were brilliant, remote standby. I mean, I'm not going to need that for a garage band. So Mick's playing, and that's not a lot of times the Motley Crue was way better than Van Halen live, way better, much better
Really?
show, better because Van Halen was so fucking loud. I mean, we played the decibel meter nightly was 132. That's like sticking your head into a GE turbofan motor on takeoff. It makes you hurt. And it was like a gunfight every night. We come out there and just go, God. It was a trial, and they could see I wasn't happy because it's like, do we have to play Beautiful Girls tonight? Do we have to play Running with the Devil? I mean, it wasn't. I felt like we're playing a top 40 set, and then Tugboat was that's exactly what this is. I thought, well, I didn't sign up for that shit.
Yeah, but the fans want that.
Yeah, but it was we were in Japan. We did a record. We played one gig, and half an hour later, there was a record available. They had a record made.
That's amazing.
They were selling our records, live records.
Oh, they were selling our records.
Oh, wait, I think I heard.
It
I think that surfaced online.
Wow.
Well, the
I
weird
think
thing
so.
about Japan is that Mr. Udo was not happy with the ticket sales. Mr. Udo, if you don't know Mr. Udo, you don't play in Japan at all. He's Yakuza. I mean, he runs that racket. and all the Coke and Seekin halls are identical. So we played Honshu, Kyushu. We were down in Hiroshima, all the way up into the northern provinces, and you could not tell the difference between one hall and the next. Exactly the same bathrooms with the
Wow.
urinals that are in the ground that are a little different thing.
Hey, before I forget, Mississippi Power, that is a B-side. You're on that one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That was not.
You know who wrote that was Preston Sturgis, the director, from
Oh,
Sullivan's Travels, and she's a famous 30s, 40s director.
That would have been a great addition to the
His
album.
son, Preston Jr., wrote that song.
How about that?
It was originally called Lightning Strikes My Buick.
Wow.
And then we got to Mississippi Power.
Do you think it should have been on the album?
It was, I thought it was. We played it right along with the rest of the roster. I mean, we had all 14 up, and I did it. Steve Connor came in with one, and me and Frank came back with another one. It was Cruel Obsession, didn't make it. And I even see the stuff that I did with the business that's getting recorded out there. It's got I'm Gonna Kill the Guy in the Car in Front of Me, and what was it called? There was a set of tunes that I did with them. That actually John Lowry recorded them, down Topanga, and that's where Dave went and did his demos. There were 24-track demos, but he did. I said, why don't we use the business for the rhythm section? He goes, no, they're too clinical. The hell does that mean? Because it was kind of weird going to New York and not even knowing what bass player and drummer I was going to play with. The day I met him, we cut the first track, so I thought this is not very organic.
That's what I say,
There's a
organic.
little
Yeah,
camaraderie that goes along.
Yeah, you would prefer to play some gigs with them, at least a few, right?
We
Just to
burned
get
so many drummers down that me and James were absolutely burnt out by the time the course started. Because we had to rehearse every drummer. He'd fire one and fire another, and we lost 4 drummers. So it was like we had to go through a whole roster, and he wanted us to rehearse 12 hours a day. I said, you could get me in there for 12 hours, but I'm gone in 3. You just don't have the headroom for that kind of stuff.
What's your opinion of Dave's vocals live? There is always this idea that fans will say, well, let me put it this way. When he came back in 07 to Van Halen, that tour, his voice sounded really, really good. Like it almost sounded like he was doing something.
He wasn't smoking so much pot. He wasn't
okay. But when you go back,
the last juice of his youth, because he did not do that well with us on the DLR. I mean, the DLR band. I didn't feel that his live performances were really up to snuff. He had some bad times at the Bomb Factory and something wrong with my kid. The bomb factory in Dallas was horrible. It's like, it's like Gloria Swanson when she finally gets in front of the camera, when Cecil B. DeMille goes, action. It's like she wants to do a play of Salome, but she wants to be in every scene. Remember, normally you can't be in every scene. Why not?
Right.
It's like, I think it's kind of a privilege of the rich. I have oil wells pumping and pumping. What is it for? But money for all of us, And Dave was never really a really generous guy. I mean, we'd be driving down Melrose. He'd go, you're a fashion disaster. I said, okay, what do you want me to do? Pull over one of those swanky joints on Melrose that's got like 10 shirts in there and all $800 a piece. He closed the store. And I got a big yellow luau shirt going, I wouldn't wear this to a dog fight if I was a state champ.
Yeah, he wears some crazy outfits.
He always liked the way I dressed and liked the way Jamie dressed because it was a theater to us. If you're going to dress like a rock star, you're going to wear that when you have breakfast. It's just the way we dressed. But it was so confusing because we had gone through the 80s. Everybody had poofy hair and Jaguar pants and Lycra shirts, and we starved, so we looked like we were coming out of concentration camps. And that was the look. And then we'd have plenty of cocaine and screw up your music. So everybody was waiting for the after party, and nobody gave a shit about the gig anymore. That's what that happened. I mean, Monsters of Rock, everyone was dangerously close to dying because they were just doing so much flow, so much. And, the people that said they weren't doing it, they were doing more than anybody. And regular civilians, we couldn't afford to do what those guys did, thank God. So you feel kind of left out because your friends move on. But, Ed would come over and he goes, he let me drive his Lamborghini once. I got in it. And the top of the thing crushing my head down like this. I said, boy, you can tell this thing's Italian. The legs are real short and the wheels are about 10 feet away. The gorilla could drive it really good. And,
wow.
He had a lot of nice stuff that I appreciated, but material stuff only goes so far.
Sure. Yeah. The coke will destroy a singer's voice. right?
To say the least, and then it wasn't just coke, it was a lot of alcohol too.
Right.
And alcohol does not improve your beauty.
Plus the cigarettes, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Ed was basically living on his food was McDonald's classic cheeseburgers, the orange label ones, and they were all over the lounge all the time. I just thought, man, how do you eat that shit? I couldn't eat at McDonald's after 1975. It's like I thought it was like sheep dip. It didn't taste right to me, you know. It turns out that 21% of their product is paraffin wax. So if you want to make a candle out of yourself, you stick a wick up your ass and keep eating McDonald's, turn into a candle. But you know, he didn't take care of himself. His hygiene, his teeth fell out. You know, a lot of the stuff that goes with being a junkie, basically.
Yeah, it's very sad. It was good though. He got himself together by the end there. But
We made a joke out of it back then. My bass player said we had a song called "I Know a Guy Named Ed." Goes, sun goes up before he go to bed. He goes, he's nifty, he's stripped. He got a little studio called 5150, and we're doing a rap song. And he was doing that. Look what's coming in from the inside. You know that one
yeah,
on this next Van Halen. Oh, you 812 had a lot of my influence on it.
really
Da, 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 da. That was one of my tunes, and he bagged it.
get
And the
out.
master, he never used a master. He recorded my masters on a cassette tape. And it got lost because it was on one of his motorcycles. I thought, my God, where's my life's work?
Wow.
But you know, we couldn't put
So
bands
Black and
together. I
Blue
mean,
was your riff.
yeah, remember, yeah, the Angel, remember Angel, that band?
Yes.
Okay, Barry, the drummer, Ed wanted to hire him. And Barry goes, fuck you, I know how you are. You're a cheapskate. He refused to work for him. Walt Woodward from the Americade and back down in New Jersey was a good friend of mine. He said, I'm not working for him. He yells at everybody. Because he came to visit me at the Hit Factory, he wouldn't let him in. And I was married at the time. My wife went down there wearing this Giorgio, and it never smelled good on her. He threw her right the fuck out of the studio. I was embarrassed. She had to go home, bathe, and change, and not put that Giorgio on. I thought, man, you're never going to get back in here. He didn't have Dave did not spare the mustard on anybody. I mean, I'd be in a restaurant with him, and somebody would fuck up something. I'd just be like, oh, that poor person's
Oh
cooking, you know.
boy.
And the whole life, we used to go to Burger Continental and all the places around town, and they're all gone now. It's funny. I see him now and again. He takes a bicycle ride. He pedals real slow, like an old man going Farm Grove. And one day we had a little dispute over a check, and he heard me screech up. The intercom's on, and I said, "Dave." He goes, "Yeah." I said, "What the?" I took off, and there was checks in my mailbox the next day. He
Wow.
almost
Okay.
held it to a void. So it's like they're not really concerned about. We're not trying to get you your money. It's like the only thing that saved me is that Jay Morgenstern, who was affiliated all the way back to the Tiffany label, Columbia, he ran a company that would track your money for you, and we did really well at Finland Black Box and you know, the Benelux countries and stuff. And one guy had 1/7% of the song. Goes, well, I'm going to track my money too. He said, well, you can call the Benelux countries. They put you on hold. They see how many records you sold. And not a very efficient way to collect money. And he wanted $10,000 to do this for me, and I had 10 grand left in the bank, and I had still not bought a house. I thought, man, this is a leap of faith, like you don't believe. It ended up yielding like $85,000 out of it, so it was lucky. Because you have to get somebody to track your money for you in Europe.
Yeah, you said on the TV, it was CBS that did the segment on you that if it wasn't for Dave, you wouldn't have had that home in Altadena.
Probably not, because it gave me the enough lucidity to buy it and really basically for cash and not have a big mortgage payment. Because I figured if times get rough, which they did, you know, there was a whole lot of money in the music business. You could make $1,000 a month gigging, and I had a little girl. I had to do something. So the way I look at it is like it was Providence that did it, and basically how we learned about Dave talking about AOR record, CHR, two different animals. CHR is elephant bucks. That's Barry Manilow. That's really now and that kind of thing. And AOR is album oriented, deep tracks and stuff, which is I don't trust my own judgment. If I like a song, it's probably best to steer away from it because it's going to be a deep track, you know. Like
Yeah,
if I
those are
listen
my
to
favorites though.
old Def Leppard, I listen to Billy Got a Gun because I like the way the guitar goes up.
Nice.
That to me is better than Pyromania. I mean,
There you
whatever
go.
the title track. And I get stuck down there a lot of times. I listen to very deep stuff, you know, the Cap Beyond,
Oh my
weird shit
God,
like that.
Captain
Remember
Beyond
that?
with with Rod
You know what's cool about that is Bonnie
Evans.
Caldwell, that drummer.
Wow, that's so cool you mentioned that. Yeah, Rod
Yeah,
Evans
remember
from Deep Purple, who sings on Hush, the
Rod
first
Evans?
hit
He's the
song.
doctor over at Glendale Adventist, about 10 miles from here.
Wow, that's such a
Retired
great
now.
album. They only made one album, I think. I
They
think they
did
made.
two, but
Oh, they did too.
the
That
second one
first one
was
is.
shit.
Oh, that first one is
These were a
phenomenal.
bunch of guys that got together and smoked pot. It was Mike Pinera and Rhino on guitars, but he used a Telecaster with Marshalls and he crimped it way up. It had a really neat staccato, kind of a weird sound that I never heard a Tele get. All little tricks like that. Like Snuffy used those big Thor amps. They're incredible.
What was the talk around town about Montrose, that first album?
That was an impactful record. I mean, Ronnie Montrose was Ronnie knew he was a very sparse player, but that was a goddamn good record. Everybody loved it. It was really the closest thing to rock and roll you could get at 75. And Edgar Winter's Gang, they only come out at night, remember?
Yep.
Rick Derringer is due a lot of credit. Derringer was one of the best guitar players out there for a time because he went through Sal Salvador single string studies. He had their legitimate chops. And he doesn't look like that. Ever really burned him down. But we all played Rick Derringer stuff. He was to be respected. I thought he was great.
Yeah, I believe Van Halen did Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo in the clubs.
Johnny was really the fascination. You know, that was he would sign the biggest record contract of all time, but he had to keep putting Still Alive and Well and Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo on every record he did.
Still alive and well, great
John
tune.
Dawson Winter was a great record. That guy could play. And he lived in Connecticut
Really?
when he passed away, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
A friend of mine, they live in Fairfield County, which is right across, just right next door to New York.
Yeah, yeah.
Right
Right
there
near.
in Connecticut.
Yeah.
His dad was a public defender. He said, man, he goes, Johnny Winter lived a mile away from him.
Oh, okay.
He
And
lived about 2 miles from Sandy Hook.
oh my
Down
God,
that
yeah,
way.
yeah. That's right near where I worked. The radio station I-95 was in Danbury. I worked there for many years.
German, Irish, or Italian?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh, I would be. Senich is part Ukrainian, Irish, and Italian. My mother's maiden name is Mango.
I'm Ukrainian.
I figured as much.
Ukrainian too.
Ukrainian, okay.
My mom's name was Capoletti, and my dad was Southern Baptist, so we had a wild household, but they all were Italians that came, my grandfather came over at 23. So I'm only two generations out of, I could get European citizenship because my grandpa came over and sat at Ellis Island for a couple of months. He was the master musician. He was a woodwind player. He played the Orpheum all the time. It reminds me, we were with Dave. The most violent gig I ever played was at the Avalon in Boston.
Oh, yeah,
It's a
yeah.
tough town. Those people in Boston, people are
Sure.
froggy. They
Sure.
beat the shit out of each other. There was about 7 girls and 3,000 guys or something. It wasn't a pretty sight.
And don't wear a New York Yankees hat in Boston.
Yeah.
Because
The Winter Hill Gang. I mean, they were all wearing leather, and it was like we went back in time. Then we played the Theater of Living Arts in Pennsylvania, which was kind of cool. But for most of the gigs we played were like sheds and movie theaters and bowling alleys. That's where it was going in '94. And I think that Motley Crue, when they had John Corabi, I know John well, he said it just wasn't worth going on tour. They were looking at the numbers, the math wasn't working.
and that's a great album
Yeah.
with what
Yeah,
he did
Three
with Motley
Buttons.
Crue.
Everybody had a failing record that year. We got defaulted for it because we got bumped from Warner Brothers down to Atlantic. That's a kiss of death for sure.
Yeah. I thought it was it Warner Reprise, right? Wasn't that what was the label? Your Filthy Little
Well,
Mouth was on, I think.
when Ahmet Erdogan had it, but we put him with Sinatra's company, with Touchwood, and the distribution companies cheated the shit out of us. We didn't get any money out of it at all. It's the music business. You can't. I don't get upset about it. I mean, I remember walking around being all bitter and mad. I thought, I'm not gonna let this get to me. Everybody gets ripped off. I think John Fogerty, he really got his ass. That's where Vance can't dance, but he'll steal your money. Remember that
Oh
one?
yeah. He said you stole your own song.
He did.
Yeah, that was Saul Zantz.
I was most impressed with Dave's work on DLR Band. I really was. He did never went anywhere.
Yeah,
But he
let's
did
talk
a
about
damn
that.
good
Well,
job on that.
he did, and I'm going to tell you one of my favorite, maybe my favorite song that you did with Dave is Black Sand. What do you know? What can you tell us about that song? How did that come up?
Okay, well, that was Erwin Muster's production. She got Erwin, who just did Van Halen. Urban's done Paco de la Cia. He's done the Scorpions from one record to first to last. And he came in and he was a German, very German. So all the 57s turned into Sennheiser 421s. It was a really industrial sound. We had Ray Luzier on drums, who was a
Phenomenal.
prodigy drummer, great drummer.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
This is back when he was a skinny little guy. I said, "Where'd you come from?" He goes, "Well, my dad's a farmer." He said, "I wasn't any good at farming, so play the drums." And he got right as soon as I heard him. He said, "Get this guy." And John Lowry played on it too. He wasn't in the studio when I was there. And John had like 51 Telecasters, and I left my 53 in there, and he ended up using it. It pissed me off. I said, "You got 50 Telecasters, you had to use mine." I said, "Dave, I told you you didn't touch my guitars." I let it go, but it was interesting because Dave was trying to intervene on the solo, and Merwin Musper goes, "Look," he goes, you paid me to produce a record. Get out." and Kieran said, "We got a guy here who's got a master's degree in harmony. Why don't we use him? That would be me." I got from Cal Arts. So Urban got with me, and that's the first song I ever felt that anybody produced correctly. He completely changed the whole song. All the changes, all the parts were there, but he rearranged it, kind of tacked it together. He said, "Go home and learn this." I thought, I got to do a good solo for this. And the solo was good, but I didn't know what he was going to sing to it. What I liked about it was just scant. My toes on the nose, not a bunch of bullshit. He really vindicated himself in that first record. Going Places is very good too.
Yep.
We did that at Ocean and we did it at Royal, and the 12-string guitar and shit. What makes me mad is that John 5 got all the credit for the hard playing. I did all the hard stuff.
Hey, lose the
shoes was like, that's the
I was
anthem
just
in all strip clubs to this day.
You read my mind. Lose the dress, keep the
something for
shoes.
that.
Yeah, lose the dress, keep the shoes, man. Great tune.
Well, the song, the original demo of that thing is badass.
Yeah.
Dave loved it. And I thought, okay, we got that one down. And I had a bunch of other songs, but we got to 5 of them. John did 7. And I dubbed in on Weekend with the Babysitter and fixed that for him.
Yes.
It's where you get that little whispering part. The dynamics are cool. John's a great player, but he doesn't have 40 years of marination, basically. I've been marinating a long time. But, I put it in the right place. I'm most proud of that as far as recording with Dave. Black Sam, without a doubt.
Oh, what a song, man. What a song.
And I wrote when I was 16.
Go and play. Wow. Okay. Going Places.
The guitar goes into like a Led Zeppelin, like a Trample Underfoot, like sounds like something out of Physical Graffiti or something. It was just an obvious, raised fifth, seventh down, whatever. I understood music better than a lot of guys back then, but I didn't know what the hell I was doing. All I knew is that major scales sound better in other keys than the keys they're supposed to be in, right? You play an A major scale and G major scale, and you do it against A, then you got something. In A, it sounds like this guy's doing scales. He's practicing his major scales, But it's also dexterity. I mean, a lot of it, my cousin was a very good player. He said, "Terry, it's all parlor tricks. It's all parlor." To me, it wasn't. The parlor trick was like trying to get that lightning every time you played. You know what I mean? Trying to get the, like you do when you play. Good nights, bad nights. If she feels like she's on, you control that. There's a full audience, you got control of it.
And there's no explanation behind it, right? It's just when you're on, you're on. You don't.
And it's like talking about what you do. I mean, if what you do for a trade is so automatic, you do it so well, you put somebody else in that position, they're going to be very uncomfortable.
Right. But also I'll have interviews where I just feel like I'm in a groove. Like right now, everything's just locked in. Sometimes I'll do an interview and it's just not like
you
trying to get the
much
rhythm.
Better understanding of what's happening now in the music business. For some guys that do these podcasts, think that there's an industry out there, and it blows my mind because everybody raises this big fuss about the NAMM show, and you go down there and see a bunch of shit you can't afford to buy, all that nice Mercury stuff and all the recording gear, and it's a cottage industry on an industry that doesn't exist anymore. There's really no way to make any money at it anymore, but the companies are not going to. Like Zappa said, in the old days, you got the old Jews, they're smoking their cigars, and they said, "Mother's cookies, let's put $300,000 on, see how it sticks to the wall." That's where you got the Mothers of Invention, all the avant-garde stuff that was out there,
Well, and now record labels have a piece in the touring industry because that's the way they're going to make money. Unless it's like the Stones or bigger, they have their own touring company. But basically, record labels, they're thinking, I'm not going to make money off of albums, so we got to get a piece of the tour.
They turned to smart pimps is what they did.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
They don't put their girls out on the street anymore. They say, we can, just like Walmart, we can get it for you if you need it.
Right. But do you get a little pissed at musicians where, for me, as a music fan, musicians make music and some musicians won't make an album because it's like, well, why bother? I'm not going to make money off of it. But the fans want to hear it.
If they don't care about money, you know what? With me, it's like they asked an old gold miner that's, yellow, never gets any water. He's out in the desert wandering around. He goes, hey, making a living. He never entered into this.
It's just what
If
you love
you
to
could
do.
get that magic, that lightning going out in front of people and have fun playing, you don't need any money.
Yeah.
That's the satisfaction. That's what people want now. I mean, that's why the Stones still go, I don't need the money. They do it because they love it. And I love it, but they made it such a gauntlet to go through where they start pay to play and all that shit. They lost a lot of patrons like that.
Well, that's the frustrating
thing. Players back in the garages, doing oil changes.
Right. Well, the radio business changed so much. I had to get out, and I loved radio. I dreamt of radio. I got an FM radio tattoo.
Right on.
And but I had to leave the business because I couldn't make a living.
Yeah,
and that pissed me off. It pissed me off. I still to this day I hate that. I got to go to a 9 to 5 job.
I bought my Wheatstone SP6 from a religious station. And the guy goes, look, he goes like, God has money problems. We know that. He just has always had money problems. He said, I can't make a living anymore. He had a huge congregation. And I had it shipped out here from New Jersey. And I loved that. I mean, it was so perfect for my use and stuff. And everybody's going Pro Tools. They're saying, we could do all that in Pro Tools. It never impressed me.
No.
I've always liked it on tape.
They have now in the radio business AI voice tracking shifts, complete shifts, and nobody would know the difference, which is depressing to me.
Well, yeah, but like when Everett had that United Artists Jury Board, Don Landy retired and he died recently. Landy was a genius. I mean, he could get tone out of a toilet. And he wired that. He used to work for the phone company. Well, what happened is that was Van Halen sound. Don Landy was it. If you take Don Landy out of that equation, they'll never sound the same.
And Little Feat.
Combination of him.
And Little Feat and Doobies. Right?
Yeah, and then he got rid of I saw it laying on the side of the, I said, what do you got it over here for? He goes, we're going to put an SSL Logic in. I said, oh, don't do that. They put a 9000 in there and it never was the same. And they threw out all the microphones because they thought all went bad. Did you read the part about the 48-volt thing to switch to turn on? If you want those mics to work?
Yeah, we record on.
Threw away some huge RCA 45s and stuff. They have to have a power source.
But you and I record on analog. What is it?
Oh, yeah.
Like
hybrid, yeah.
I was about to say recording on analog.
Machines now. But you have to be an egghead,
Because both of us have that same taste when it comes to recording. We don't like.
You can hear it. I mean, I just hear the tape. It's what it is that everything is an etching. Those little chips that make the sound cards up, they're etchings. Very mild. Like this is the TL072 is probably the most famous etching, right? But it's an etching. I mean, with tape, you've got heads that scrape, oxide off and make a real big footprint. And that goes to say a lot. Like, Townsend just ordered those Mara machines. He's got a 2-inch 8-track. So every track has a 1/4 of an inch. I mean, it's nuts.
Yeah. Yeah, everything's changed so much.
It has. You have to have a lot of money to play Buck Rogers in this thing. You see the labs they have. My friend works at, oh my God. They've got $600,000 worth of microphones.
Yeah, but everybody that I like, they're all doing it on pure analog.
Yeah, well, there's people out there, these kids that, go can record records out of that one Apogee thing. I can't do that. I just have to get it in line and if you got something going, if you don't start a fire with one guitar line and a bass and drums, you ain't got nothing to start anyhow.
Yeah.
The new song, Kilgore's Love Song, tell us about that, because there's a great story behind that. How did it finally come together after it was unfinished for many years?
It's a red herring. It's really, I had a 1904 parlor guitar that just was magical. I never got it out of the fire. It was really a Columbia parlor that had stood 122 years without being crushed. And the guy had steel strings, and I said, there's no way this had cat gut strings in 1924. So I put nylons on it, and it got this Celt sound. I started recording on my telephone. And I came up with this little thing. I said, hey, try this, and she did something to it, and I thought, interesting. Haven't heard anything quite like that.
It's cold inside. Lay your body on me. Talk to me, darling, till I go. The taste of your lips bring me relief. For I've been neglected, you well know.
Yeah, that
I-
was around for quite a while, that song.
That song, the music with no lyrics for years.
I don't know what the hell it was. I said that's kind of interesting thing here, you know.
Well, you like,
Because I like to. I was playing a lot of Celt music. I started doing that like 7 or 8 years ago, and I've got quite a few songs that are rock, but they have a Celtic,
yeah.
not like Blackmore, but you know, it's got a little bit more a storyline. You know, something that textures. I don't know, something
Yeah.
that invokes. If it invokes something and makes somebody want to sing to it, they're going to try something that's. Why not try something good? Story. You know, it's almost like musical journalism.
Yeah, and
You know, in a
he just
weird sort of
basically
way.
said, take whatever song you like and put something down.
You know,
Was that a
if you
test?
get a singer and you start
You know?
talking to them and
Yeah.
tell them, I want you to do this, I want you to do that. You turn them into a chimpanzee.
Well, it's funny because he messaged me on Facebook, and then he goes, I need a songwriter, and you asked our friend Gary Putman, our mutual friend, but we never knew each other, and we hung in the same circle.
Gary was in Dred Zeppelin.
Yeah.
He's great.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Gary's on like 85% of both of my albums.
He's a funny guy.
Really plays he was so good to me, playing on everything, gigging with
We
me.
played, me and Gary and Mike Sato played at the Van Halen, the book party that Greg Renoff threw, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Gary jumps out on that, he jumps on the dance floor at his bass and says, here we go.
Yeah.
I
But for
don't know where it's going to go.
me being in the studio with him, he didn't go wild, because Gary will go off on a tangent playing guitar, and you're just like, whoop, there he goes, like Terry's saying. But
You know, I can't play the clubs he plays. He plays these goddamn clubs that are 20 people.
Gary will play most.
He plays a lot of gigs, but the more
yeah.
gigs you play, the less people are they start to lose.
And the other thought,
You can
though,
overplay yourself in this town.
but
really easy.
the other thought is that he's keeping his chops up, so that's how I see it. Because I'll go downtown, Sierra Madre, and then I pop in the local bar because I'm a runner.
It's sad 'cause
and-
that's where all the players are now, in these local bars.
So
But it used to be like there was a gathering place like FM station, Freddie McNasty's joint, or the Viper Room, and it just slowly got phased out. It was just too much. Lucky Strike.
come back around.
A lot of bands played at Lucky Strike, and now they're playing down at Mozambique, and there's a lot more work in Orange County.
Yeah.
But it's factory work basically.
I feel like everything's cyclical, and it'll come back.
Receiving a tribute yet, I'd never do it.
Well, you're not gonna be because
No, I'm saying I couldn't do that.
You got to do your
There's
thing, man. Yeah.
People are playing original music out there.
And my friend Artie Saraf, he's in the Fab Four. So when I asked him to do backup on my second album, I think it was, or my first album too, it's like having Paul McCartney on the album. And so I'm like, well,
Yeah, the
that's
Fab Four. Yeah.
You've got some amazing players around here.
Yeah.
Their worlds.
Well,
That's
I
it.
don't know. I mean, I think some of them choose.
Well,
'Cause, like,
when you go out and tour like that, and you realize I went out and toured my own group for a couple of years, I thought you could get lost in the automobile wilderness of North America and never come back.
but I asked Artie one time, I said,
Go out that door, you're not
yeah.
going to come back with no money, but you may be able to gig all the way through it.
But I said to Artie, do you like playing, in the tribute band? And he goes, yeah. And I said,
Pays the bill.
"You get sick of it." And he goes, until I think of having a desk job that I don't like, nothing against desk jobs. I have one at JPL for years, but he said, well, I figure, that would be some.
There's
do
always
something.
guys like, the guys I've been
Yeah.
listening to lately. I love Joe Bonamassa because he's got the right psychology. And he got real pissed off at me because I go to the same guitar tech and I didn't recognize him. He looks like I don't know who the hell he was. But I have a lot of respect for him. And Eric Gales, I love the way he plays. I mean, he's just got that kind of a spiritual Zen quality of the magic. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And when you and I are finishing the album, though, there's going to be a lot, like that love song is one unique song that I just.
Well, I told her I couldn't play it
started
again.
off, yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
what the hell I did.
Yeah.
Can't figure out
And
the mistakes.
that I picked that song. You go, of all the songs I gave you, you picked the one that I never thought anybody would write a lyric to, And I wrote it.
The thing, that's why I want to get other people on this thing, because the way they think,
Yeah,
like,
and I actually did sing that one in the bathtub. I write lyrics real quick.
Baby, I wanna run to that man at the top of this road. And I'm gonna run, yeah, to that man, Lord. I wanna run to that man at the top of this road.
Was the plan all along to put together a whole album, or did that one
Oh, yeah.
song kind of
Well,
inspire?
I have an album worth of material, but you know what?
Much
If I'm going to
more.
do a solo style record or guitar record, I expect some guitar on there.
And lyrics.
And given the situation as it was, I just now acquired all the gear that I could pull that off with. Because remember, I lost all my preamps, all the stuff that I was accustomed to using. And it's a hell of a far back away when you have a 1073 Brett Admirals and they're gone, and you're trying to do something with the ART preamp. I mean, it's just you have to rely on other factors. You know what I mean?
There's
And like I know
also
guys that have beautiful hardware, but you can't play worth shit. And you have to have everything going at once. And a lot of the people that have money would rather have somebody else record it. And I go, if you have money and luxury of time, I want to do it.
Yeah, and
Because then you
we
can
do
get
a
at
mix.
it, you know?
and I do a mix. So we'll do recordings in the house. The love song, I was practicing the song and I ended up just doing a sample. I was in the bathtub and I
Time
was
and time and time we
sampling
sent
it.
stuff out.
We
and
brought it in the
producer goes,
studio and used that vocal, and then I doubled it a little bit in certain spots because just to clean it up, because when you have the track with the music on it, you can't separate, and sometimes you need the vocals up. You know what I mean? So if it wasn't working, then I would double it, and then we'd use kind of a mix of both, interchange. But 90% of that song was done in the bathtub.
Chuck Colbert said it poetically at Capitol Records, goes, you're like a missing link or something. You're like something we should have heard that we didn't hear a long time ago, that you fill a hole that I've heard fill like that.
Yeah, and that's how it was
But
for
it
me when I
doesn't,
met.
it's very cryptic. It's not like intentionally done.
Yeah,
It's like, I remember this vibe from when I was a kid. I
yeah,
wrote a song about it. I like repetitive lines. Like if you're gonna do a guitar line, I like one that reciprocates and one that modulates around it.
yeah.
Because of my education, I had an education in harmony. I understand how to use it. But really, I think that people come out of dead stock with no schooling at all and come up with the same kind of shit all the time.
Well, I'm not trained either as a
I had a
songwriter.
guy that come to me when I was giving guitar lessons, and he had 100 songs he put together out of 7 chords that he knew, and none of it was bad. You just
Yeah.
go, wow, this guy's got talent.
But when I met you with your sound, because I didn't really know who he was, I feel,
Nobody knows who I am.
Well,
I'm lucky enough
Gary-
that I don't know.
Gary-
I know who he is.
Yeah, Gary invited me down to
I have a
the,
lot of friends back east too.
yeah, and Gary invited me down to the local bar and I brought my son, and then he was playing, and that's how we met. And then, but when I heard his swampy slide,
I was going to tell you when I looked at you,
Hell
I
yeah.
said, you're from anywhere near Federal Hill. I mean, it's funny because John Reagan told me that they changed their name to an Irish name because the Irish cops were beating the shit out of his dad all the time. He's really Piscolini. So, and my grandma, there's so many of my relatives back east, and a lot of them were not. The Marolos are like the horrible Jennas out of Chicago.
Are they not to be messed with? Yeah. Well, I mean, just
Little
as
Italy, that kind of thing,
as a huge David Lee fan, I sure know who you are. I went out and bought the album, the CD, when I was in my senior year in college, went to the nearest record store. And so
the girl down the street goes, my brother's a big fan of yours. And I'm thinking, I have a lot of popular people back east that like me. And I think it's more like they embraced me because I was like one of them. I walk through red lights in New York. I don't stop and it says don't walk. And keep going.
What's the Waylon Jennings cover?
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. So being a 1970
Pestered me
country.
about this forever.
Yeah, I talk about it all the time. So I, as soon as I met him, I'm like, oh, he kind of reminds me of Waylon Jennings, the way he looks.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then
you're right.
in his voice,
I'm just not that much of a philanderer.
how do you know? Well, I guess
He was bad from the very beginning. I mean, when he looked at Buddy Holly, he goes, "I hope you guys crash."
Yeah.
Yeah, but then
He said so that night.
He did.
Clearly.
That's a
backfired.
story.
He felt
Yeah.
bad about
He
that.
felt
His
terrible
dad
about that.
felt terrible. But the point is, yeah, so
They all flew that same bonanza that killed all those people.
but there's a song called So Good
That plane
Woman.
killed everybody.
Yeah, and so I made it a duet. So I inserted my voice, and then I'm hoping that Terry will sing it and play on it. And I'd love for you to play
That's a parlor
side.
trick. I mean, you
A
say,
duet.
The thing is, I know all this the corny music stuff.
I
I
see, I
call it the
don't think it's
corny.
corny, but he does,
You know, bony fingers. It's early 70s country music.
eclectic music.
But then,
That's
the new country, I mean, I love Danny Gatton stuff. I love they're all great players.
Yeah, no, I like old school. I like George Jones.
We
Waylon
discovered
Jennings,
Jerry Reed a few years back. I thought, my God, I didn't know the guy was such a great guitar player.
Yeah,
Fabulous. The most
yeah.
economic hands you've ever seen. Just the bare minimum to get the sound and the control. It's like, fuck, unbelievable.
So if that song gets on the album, it's already tracked. But if Terry ends up playing on it, which I'm hoping, because we get busy, that would be a gift to me. So I would already thank you in advance.
Well, when do you know when the album will be out? Isn't it September? I thought that wasn't that.
I'd probably be late September.
Maybe a little. Well, see, I'm going to New York
I
for a bit.
can't let it out if I don't like what I hear, and I won't go anywhere.
I do. If I go in myself, I bring home, and then I send it to him.
Well, but I've aged enough songs to where I know that if this thing stands up and it was 4 years old, I'll do it.
Yeah, but I would love for him to take the last one we did. What was it called? The last one we did?
I don't know what
The one we were just working on, not Back to Eve.
Crying Shame.
Crying Shame, yeah. Maybe you could be the one to release it for us.
Well, I want to play. That I would be happy to do that, and Kilgore's Love Song. Play a clip of it, and hopefully they don't pull it down on YouTube. And that's the thing that drives me insane.
We own that.
If they do, I'll let you know, and I'll dispute it.
Yeah, there's no way they could, because that's nobody owns those songs.
That's the way I look at it. If somebody steals something and they like it that much and they're playing it, you can have it.
Right. No,
they can exploit it till you get to a certain point. I mean,
yeah, they can play it, but we're certainly not going to.
Music's a gift. I mean, look at how long I'm gonna be around, how long I want to have the same energy, because you get look at if it's not working. Like Snuffy was one of my favorite guitar players in the world. He said it just wasn't making any money. He had to go to doing film, but he still plays. The guy who's doing shit in 1973, they still are now catching up with.
Yeah, and see me, I've never made any money playing music, and I'm okay though, because
Well,
I've invested
that's how everybody is before they make anything in the business. And I'd rather be I would have much rather gone to work for John Waite than David Lee Roth, because he's more of a serious looking for songs. But the guys that aim for those hits like that, it's a shooting gallery, you know what I mean? It's like Graham Bonnie. It's a shooting gallery. You're going to be doing
a moving target.
Yeah,
it's like trying to.
And everybody's ears are moving targets. I mean, it's like, oh, that's the best sounding amp I ever heard. Next week they're playing another one. This is the best sounding amp I've ever heard.
It's funny to see what you play on now, because in comparison to what you grew up on, the Marshalls and all that, now you're playing on.
Well, that's the thing. We know everything. I can build you a super lead now, but you know what? We knew everything about him. We didn't know shit about him.
He built my son a guitar, which is so cool.
We didn't know anything about music at all. We just, Ed had the bicycle paint and had that $140 Charvel. And that thing changed. And a lot of guys were putting humbuckers and Stratocasters and Telecasters back then.
Did you go to that house that he lived in, that little house that's still there?
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah.
Apparently it looks exactly the same.
Exactly the same.
It's like it's off an alleyway off of Las Lunas, which is like lower middle class.
It was. Well, now everything's over
we came from more money than that, and I was broke. We lived in Eaton Canyon, but Ed we were monitoring each other constantly, because I kept him on his toes, and he really kept me on mine. He's hard guy to beat. They were always in charge, but there was a room enough for other people as long as you didn't play like him. You had to play kind of like it, the same kind of. But there are a lot of guitar players were developing styles. Gary, Carl Hassett, they all were good players. We all kind of came into the same thing. We listened to the English guys and played blues licks. Then we heard Jimmy Page and Jeff Beck, and Blow by Blow changed me. I thought, well, I'm going to do instrumental stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So only Jeff Beck could pull that off.
I just interviewed Brad Talinsky and Chris Gill, who wrote that great book on Eddie, and they just wrote a book on Jeff Beck, and it's a fabulous book.
And like Rob Grange and Derek St. Holmes, Ted Nugent's band, right?
Stranglehold, he sings on.
They went through the same shit. I mean, it was Derek St. Holmes did all the goddamn work there. Ted just took all the money. That's basically what happened. And so, those guys, I co-write with them for Brad Whitford, the Aerosmith bunch, because they have their own projects.
Whitford Holmes, I think, was Derek was in that band.
Yeah, they had a cool. They used one of my tunes.
Yeah,
I had some good. If I hear something somebody's playing, I go, okay, I'm going to do something like that too, but I'll do it a little differently, And that was what it was fun to go see what we would come up with. I'd get real quiet. You wouldn't hear me from me in a week, and all of a sudden I'd be playing a song. I go, where'd you pick that? How'd you pick that up? It was competitive, but it was a friendly way,
Just as a fan, though, I miss. And when he passed, it was like, that's it. There's no more hope and possibility that another Van Halen.
I cried my eyes out because I remembered all the good times that we had, how close we were.
I'm sure.
And then I remember his son said I always told him, Ed, don't drive motorcycles. You haven't got the temperament for it. You will die. You got to drive a motorcycle like you drive a car, you'll be all right. Drove him like he drove a motorcycle. And when he cracked his head open, they looked like they had a CAT scan and saw that tumor the size of a lemon in his head.
Gosh.
He got it in his spine. He died very painfully. Horrible.
I know. I heard that's what Ted Templeman said.
Well, I saw him, and when you grow up with somebody like that, you see them and they're young and they're strong. I mean, he pushed the outside of the envelope a little harder than he thought I was the heavier drinker. I thought, hell no, I just don't drink all that beer. I can't hold it. But then he went, straight to vodka, and addictions are progressive and they get the better of you. He was, he looked like Gollum for a while. He went really out of his tree.
Yeah, yeah. That was a wild. That was a dark time.
He used to be with that Marshall amp. You had a Marshall and a couple of little effects sounded great. And all of a sudden, he had this Bradshaw rig that was as big as a Sub-Zero refrigerator that had 26 racks. I don't know what the hell it was. The guitar didn't sound like a big monster.
Yeah, the sound of his guitar, nothing fills me up more, man. It's like just.
My people knew when I got rid of my Black Flags. I had 2 Black Flag 50 watts, and Black Flags were like before Jim Marshall and Teresa were divorced. It was Jim and Teresa Marshall. Well, he wanted her out, and they went to JMP, Jim Marshall Productions. But the Black Flags were special amplifiers. They're worth about $10,000 a piece. I sold them off because I got sick of the sound. And my fans told me, you don't have the same sound you used to have, you're a faggot. And then I got it back with Randall's. I'm getting Pantera. We started using the Randall stuff because I was touring the South Seas. Then you couldn't use a tube. I couldn't have the budget to run tube amps 12 hours a day. Just couldn't do it. We played Singapore, all the military bases. That was the only thing you could get. We paid $1,500 a week. And man, it was tough. It was rough stuff. You go on those islands, where the military is, everything rust in one day. There's a big pile of bicycles that are all covered in rust. Everybody brings bicycles. We've been on Kiribati. I mean, I've been on all the Gilbert Islands, the Solomons, because we still have bases out there everywhere. They're AW reservations, so the guys that go there, they go in for a 6-month stay, and they're going, oh, we're going to be here. It's an atoll that's maybe a mile long and 900 yards wide or something, and 500,000 people live on it. That's what the South Seas tours are about. But that's the only money we could make in the 80s. Everybody had everything locked up. Every band looked the same. They all looked like Poison or.
Oh God, yeah.
Remember that?
Oh yeah, yeah. I sure do. I was in high school. Yeah, man. Warrant, Winger.
I got mad at a bunch of them. I said, "You guys are going to be back in Pomona doing oil changes by the 90s," and I was right because the only thing that was really, I got picked up because I dressed in a black suit with no collars, like a starving blues musician, because that's what I was basically.
And Eddie used to say, "Don't blame me," because everyone was like, "Oh, you inspired all these bands, these copycat bands." He's like, "I didn't do it on purpose. I was just playing."
There were so many Van Halen.
Just playing the way I play.
Big money in the Van Halen tribute bands. I just couldn't imagine playing their set because it's like, I wasn't a big fan of their music because I hadn't heard it so many times. I mean,
See you doing that.
I can listen to the record and see what he's playing. I know exactly how he played. We used to laugh because I played up like this because I had a steel plate in my arm. So I kind of go at it differently when I pick for dynamics. And Ed played like this.
Right. Oh,
I
it was
could never figure out.
crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But he was, I think that he was just a constant musician. When Al talked about it, he said, Ed was definitely the cornerstone of that group. I mean, and Dave wanted in on that. That was the only money going out of town because there was other bands, but Ed he beat them down bad because they had the work ethic. Alex was instrumental in that because he was the oldest and he was the biggest. And to argue with Al, you beat the shit out of you. He's going to get his way. I mean, he ran that, and
That's what I love. They didn't rely on talent. They just worked their ass off. They didn't just expect things to come to them because Eddie was so good.
They made their money like that. I mean, it's like he utilized they were made about $100 a week, which in those days was about as much as a kid could make on any job. If you got paid, if my dad was a police sergeant, you got paid $1,000 a month. Now they get paid 130,000. It's a different world, man. It really is. We're growing up in a 20s economic system, watching it go through the ceiling 6 times. I mean, my parents were alive. They'd just go, "What the hell? Is this hell or what?"
Yeah, and Terry got a plate in his arm because he was in an auto accident. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
When you were a kid, okay.
Compound fracture of the humerus.
Yeah, we were driving in
It was only about 2 months of the technology they had to fuse bone again because they couldn't do it.
And I'm driving with him, and he goes, "Oh, there, see that tree right there? That big gouge in the tree." He said, "I did that. We were I knew it was in the accident, but I didn't know it was right there."
It was the scourge of World War II, osteomyelitis, which means if you got a shot through a bone, they couldn't fuse the marrow together, it'll kill you. If the marrow touch got outside where the pristine part of your flesh is, you'd lose the arm. So I almost lost the arm.
I was gonna say you almost had like a Rick Allen situation.
And his dad was a police officer, like he said, and his dad didn't you say
it was his car, and we were in. My aunt was driving, and he didn't know it was his own kids laying
his
out
own
the street.
kid. He comes to the accident, his father, and there's
This was a bad accident because he got the springs in the seat cut loose and got my cousin 90 stitches. I was thrown out of the car, and we were all stripped naked, damn near naked. He ripped our shoes off.
Yeah, one lady was
at the real
bus
bad,
stop.
that's what happened. It ripped your clothes
One
off.
lady was at a bus stop, and her daughter daughter
Crushed or lost both of her legs, and grandma lost her leg right on the spine. I woke up next to her foot. I went.
Yeah, he was just a little boy.
8, I think I was 8. Yeah, 1963.
Yeah.
Wow.
But, it came back, but Ed didn't have any. He never had any. He was probably the fastest runner I've ever seen at PHS. He had a 100-yard dash in like 9.5 seconds. He could
Eddie,
go like
really?
But his hips from jumping off those drum risers and shit, they were shot. I mean, he had to come down in the golf cart. The last time I saw him, and he drive a golf cart down to the driveway in Coldwater Canyon because he couldn't walk. He really couldn't walk that well.
That was the famous thing Dave told Eddie at the 96 MTV Video Awards. Eddie's like, the press is like, what's going to happen next? You're going to make an album? He's like, oh, I got to get my hip replaced. And apparently Dave was like, tonight's about me, not your fucking hip.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing.
My God.
You want to rub Edward the wrong way? Oh my God. I see him looking at this. I think he's going to kill him right in front of me. He tried to get back in the game for years. They said, don't even bother calling here. And it was, they became full of themselves. I mean, the only thing I don't like, I think it was a low character, is to put Michael as an employee. He was an integral part of that band.
Well, what do you think that brought him back? Was it Wolfgang that ultimately was the reason Dave came back? That's the story.
Well, I think he wanted to play with Wolfgang, and Mike understood that, but
Wolfgang called Dave up.
My daughter too, but I wouldn't let her play drums in my group.
And I play with my son all the time.
Well, her kids are musical, but it's you got to do a different thing.
Yeah, well, my son's a songwriter, so he plays with me. Yeah, so we play that. We just played Friday.
So like the Cowsill.
Saturday we played the music festival in Big Bear. So we're up all the time playing, and then I'm in the studio constantly. Then Sunday we were in the studio. You didn't come to that session, did you? No, not that.
It's only 2 hours. I mean,
It was 3 hours.
I like to go in and do something.
Yeah. Well, sometimes he makes it, sometimes he doesn't, and that's fine. But he always hears everything to make sure that we're doing what.
I kind of let things go the way they are. If it sounds good, but I don't want to try to put too much of
Well, I
me
think
in
you
there.
trust me now.
No,
more.
but you don't.
Yeah.
You don't want to put too much of yourself, even in your own recordings, because it gets kind of tunnel vision. I don't know. I can't explain it.
Playing with multiple music.
I don't think I'd like Led Zeppelin as much if Robert Plant wasn't singing and John Paul Jones wasn't playing bass.
Well, me neither. Who?
That was the magic,
I mean,
is
yeah.
the different players. Now it's like, the guys I like to play with, I spent 2 years getting James to play bass for me, and it's all burned up. I should have got the hard drives out, because that's where everything was archived.
Oh, that's right.
I mean, every fucking thing I ever did is gone. Everything.
Yeah. To that real quickly. So what happened? Like home insurance, people are wondering, like,
They,
didn't they help you out?
well, I've got a $3 million lawsuit going, but the thing is, utility companies are historically pay less, get out of it. The bigger the corporation, the more money. They have a monopoly that, they made $4.8 billion this last quarter. And this is all about keeping their shareholders, but they were told to move the towers in 1971 and they refused to do so. So it's negligence, which puts me, and I lost my insurance 3 weeks before that because the Fair Plan, Gavin Newsom just ran all the insurance companies out. Nobody would cover me. Allstate, Northbrook was my company. They canceled my auto. They canceled everything. They put me on a Fair Plan list. So here I'm going.
Months before the fire.
3 weeks.
Before
I
the
called
fire,
every
yeah.
day trying to,
God.
nobody would insure me.
So it's
And
kind
it's the same thing all the way up the slope.
Yeah.
Where I was is
Yeah.
so close to the mountains that it turned a Fair Plan all up there.
Yeah, and Terry and I are probably, how far are we from each other? Maybe 2 miles? 5 miles, okay.
4.5.
Whatever, yeah. And so, we're both in
The
the
fire
same
was here,
vicinity,
right
yeah.
where this place is here,
So,
and
yeah,
the wind blew it over at 90 miles an hour.
yeah, so if you look this way, like this is the big window right there. So out that window, I'm standing with my daughter looking at the flames coming our way. And I'm like, we got to get all the animals out. I started packing up the guitars, moving all the cars,
I've
and
lived up there my whole life. I've never
Yeah.
seen anything like this.
so the whole time we have electricity and water. He's in Altadena, 5 miles away. Same. I'm closer to the mountain than you are.
Yeah.
And then the wind suddenly changed position and went towards Altadena. And we said prayer. And I don't know if
So that was
was
5 streets off the National Forest. Each street would go every 10 minutes. It's like
Yeah, and I'm
40 foot tall.
2 blocks from the mountain, and he's 5 streets from it. And so
Wind blew right over the meridian where my neighborhood is, and that turned around and came due south at 80 miles an hour.
yeah, he had
Firestorm. It was like being bombed.
Christy had missed your house.
it turned away from Sierra Madre and went
It's
to
Altadena.
Altadena. But the ironic thing is, he has no power at 6 in the evening,
Yeah, that
and then they
cuts off
turn
6
off the
p.m.
water. And here I'm in Sierra Madre, and I got water and power. Why would they shut off
We
the
had a
water?
recording of the police chief calling Edison going, tell your boss to turn the grid off. Said he's not going to be in till 9 a.m. in the morning. Well, it was over by then.
Yeah, I got a notice that my insurance was going to be canceled. His was already canceled. And so then we have to go on the Fair Plan, which is double the amount of money that you're paying, or triple of a regular insurance company.
Well, I have
So-
one advantage. My in-laws went to school with my attorney, Michael Watts, and he's the guy that got the money out of Lahaina. And now they can't delay it much longer,
Yeah,
Because what they do is they delay it till so many people are dying. And it was an old neighborhood that they didn't pay a lot of taxes. It was
yeah.
grandfather's in.
Old homes,
They wanted us out.
old, yeah.
It was a
And
land
Terry,
grab.
you got out around 4 a.m., right? Is that
I left at 4:21 and I was literally covered with soot. There was no more oxygen. I couldn't breathe. Had to go. I got the last loads in the car. I left my most valuable stuff. I couldn't get it back in the house.
Yeah, and I took everything that I could, all my pictures, all my guitars, all my animals, and I moved all the cars down. And because I was thinking something could happen. And then I took the RV, which we take to gigs.
We stayed
and
at Copeland
something-
Weiss, so we evacuated this old woman down the street. I went down and insisted she get out.
Yeah,
Because my cats, I got to get my cats. I said, the hell with your cat. You're not going to live through this. It was that bad.
she had to leave immediately. The house went up.
She lives in Connecticut now too, and she called me and goes, thank you. You saved my life.
Yeah, her poor cats died, but
Yeah, she was, we knew her because she's a 63 Playboy centerfold.
It
Oh,
was his neighbor.
okay.
She's the first person to come forward.
And she lives in Connecticut now? She lives in Connecticut now?
Yeah, she got
Oh,
daughters
that's
up in
cool.
Connecticut. She loves it up there.
So yeah, and then your mom's ashes, right? Is that
Couldn't
what?
get anything out. The studio was so funny. I mean, I had an old 50s O'Keefe Merritt stove. It looked like it had been sodomized in prison. It was bent over like
Right.
this. And all the new appliances were all made out of that plastic composite. They weren't there. Nothing
Man.
survived.
It was just an empty lot when you
JPL came up because the neighbor's a JPL employee. They measured it 2,100 degrees.
Yeah, and so you have to remember, we lived right by NASA. I used to work there, JPL, Jet Propulsion
That didn't burn.
Laboratory. Didn't burn. Now, had it burned, it would have been so toxic.
No, there had been a crater about a mile wide.
Yeah, it would have been so detrimental to the whole area, but it didn't get touched. All the houses
because they made sure it didn't get
got
touched.
safe.
It's all
It's
part.
ironic. You know what I mean? It's really weird.
I've never seen a whole city though. When I remember the Oakland fire when I was a kid, nothing compared to this.
Yeah, the whole city.
In that video, there's a shot overhead of all the homes.
Yeah,
that
and
were
don't forget, you're
devastating.
talking about the mountains way up here, and you got blocks and blocks way down in
It went clear down to
Pasadena.
like Washington Boulevard to the
Yeah, it's
Pasadena border.
weird. You know, like, yeah, it was like we have apartments and the tenants were calling me saying, should we leave? And I'm like,
It was a
leave?
quirky thing though. You look at one house and go, how the hell did this thing survive?
Yeah.
And everything around it.
But they were right, the tenants, they
It
were
was like a
scared.
bombing
The
run.
the
you know,
fire
like
was coming down
Dresden or
so
something.
far,
It
you
struck
know?
me as like, it wouldn't be like a fire, it was like a bombing.
It was. Yeah.
It was almost nuclear because it was just literally melted everything. The wheels melted on the car.
Yeah, the next day we went driving around and it would look like a movie set. There was just fire, like they left all the gas on and all the gas was just burning in the car.
And they
It
blamed the
was
gas
crazy.
company, it had nothing to do with it.
It was crazy.
Terry, are you just are you in shock like the next day? I mean, what's emotionally? What are you?
I
What's
think
going
he's
through your
still in
mind?
Fucking
shock,
basket
yeah.
case for about 4 months. My in-laws took care of me.
Yeah, I think he's still in
He gave me a
shock.
room there and I just kind of recuperated. And then all of a sudden things started to click.
Yeah.
I figured I got to get out of here. I can't live off these people. So the Mormons donated a RV to me, and it's not a bad one. And I put solar power in it and turned it off grid because I'm not going to give Edison any more of mine.
They wanted him to pay to hook up
Yeah,
electricity.
they want like $900 to put a line in. I'm going, you guys burned my whole world down and you want $900.
Yeah. And then you and I met, what, 1 month after the fire?
Was it 1 month? No, I think it was,
Was
yeah, about a month and a
Yeah.
half.
And then he never would come out of his house very often. He was kind of a guy that just,
Why bother?
yeah. And so it was funny that had the fire not come, you and I wouldn't have met.
No, I wouldn't be playing the clubs. I got bored of playing again.
Yeah, that's the feeling I get. Like that's the vibe. Like Kristy, like you met him. Like you're here to. There's a reason that you came into his life.
Oh, we both talk
There's
about that,
something. Yeah, there's something.
Something that's underlying that, it's not
Right.
happening.
It's
Like,
true, yeah.
Big picture
I mean,
stuff,
if
you know.
it doesn't turn into anything, it's because we didn't try.
Yeah. And the funny thing is we're only 12 years apart in age. We're not that far.
Only 12 years. Listen, I'd like to have a 12 back. I'll tell you that.
But we're not that far off in age. But it's interesting because his generation does feel different, but we ran in the same circles more or less.
You know where I come out of it? You know what? You do stupid shit, you get stupid prizes. And I got tired of taking stupid prize. I mean, it's like playing is like you just know nothing that you get out there is going to be permanent. It's going to be, this is the way it changed. It morphs into this or that.
But once you
gotta roll
record
with it.
and put that out there, it kind of is permanent. You know?
You got to give them something. I think you have to give people something that's like they can hang on to mentally, or something that sticks in their head.
We will. I agree. I
Well,
think
that's what I've tried to.
he's always looking. I love it because he's always looking for the next thing that moves him. But I never discount the stuff that's already there. I'm like, you know
Well,
what?
like I'm like
Don't
you,
forget
I'm
about
a
this,
goofy
you know?
fucker. I like the deep tracks. If you follow my case, pretty soon you're gonna go, hey,
Yeah, but you wrote all these
Kilgore
tracks.
went around the bend again.
Yeah, but you wrote all the tracks that we're working on. So there's not none of my
Well, a lot
songs
of
on
people
there.
wite from the lyrics. I write the song's got to move me before the lyric.
Oh, me
That's
too.
just how it
I
goes.
have the music first, then I put the lyrics. But my well, I don't remember. What
I think it's all been done so much that
yeah, but
you have to honest, like, Alan Holworth was a big influence on me. He's the one that does all the John Carpenter movies.
Yes.
Oh,
Oh yeah, man.
Holworth,
In fact,
Holworth.
the opening scene to Halloween 4 is one of my favorite musical movie moments.
Oh,
I'll
really?
say.
He's
Yes.
good. And he believes in 442, and I do too. I mean, it's just a nicer 440 irritates me. If I listen to it a long time, it irritates me. I start to go, I like that pitch. 442 is like more the natural rhythm of the universe. I can hear it. We knew this in school. I mean, I went to the same school Pee Wee Herman went to, graduated the same, yeah.
Get out. Wow.
Valencia.
Where should people go to get the update on the album? And they should go to the website, right? Terry's website.
Well, I'm going to start putting things up on Spotify. I've just been so busy doing all the things that we're doing, promoting and gigging and in the studio.
Well, it's like when you say, I don't want to
yet.
talk shit about it. I'd rather put it out and let it speak for itself,
Well, yeah, but you got
Once the
to
acid
say
test
where
is
they're going to get it, right?
Yeah, but you have to have something to give them.
Because I want to help. I want to help get the word out.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
We'll
And-
give you every
and-
release that we
Yeah,
have to do,
and YouTube right now is where I put it up most quickly, but definitely once I get it, because I work with one company that helps promote it. Websites are places that things will be updated. I have a Facebook page, Instagram, that gets updated regularly, and then also the channel for YouTube, and then we'll start doing Spotify and all that kind of stuff as well.
So let's wind down with books here, because obviously this podcast it's booked on rock, so we focus on rock and roll books. So what any music books that have meant a lot to you? That
I read Hammer of the Gods. I read Me, Alice. I thought Alice Cooper's one was interesting because he had a lot of good narrative in it. How Shep Gordon came into the Cheetah Club and they were so bad that they cleared the whole club out in like 10 minutes. And he came and goes, I want to manage you guys. I've never seen anybody clear out an auditorium quick.
I think that's
Shep
out of
Gordon
print
was a
now.
genius.
That
And
book.
I like Up and Down with the Rolling Stones, but that was mainly kind of he was down,
Yeah.
heroin and coke and all that kind of nonsense.
That was a good book, though, I thought.
Well, it showed how Keith Richards was when Bobby Keys was OD'd. He said, "Fuck you, I'm not going to give you any of mine."
And I just got the Keith Richards book, but I haven't read it yet.
The Who, the Who had a good one, but they're so crazy. I mean, the ones the band, some of the English bands were so flamboyant. I mean, how the hell did the Who survive? Kit Lambert said if they kept destroying gear, they're going to go back. They went bankrupt the first tour they did. And then Roger punched Pete out because he didn't think the vocals were loud enough on Quadrophenia and shit like that. I was interested in all that stuff, but a lot of it was hooey, that was written by the authors that either had an antagonistic view of the players and stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, the Keith Richards book is that was like that brought on a resurgence of rock and roll books, memoirs. Now,
Yeah.
so many. I read Dave's book, David Lee's book.
yeah,
That
he's
was
too.
That was an
Ah,
He
adventure.
mentioned me one time, and my name's way in the back of the index. Alex mentioned me in his book one time.
Did you read the?
Yeah, I read it. I had an autographed copy of it.
Oh.
Yeah, it's more of I like the one where he's got the girl in the kayak. He goes, my mom really knows how to pack a lunch. He'd find some funny shit, but I've seen him make such an ass out of himself. Like with Robin Williams and Jay Leno are the two best improv guys in the business. He really stepped in it that night.
That was a long time ago.
That was
Yeah,
surreal.
but
That's
it
95.
happened.
That was
right after he
bizarre.
played with me, he went into Las Vegas, and they got fired in Las Vegas. I mean, it was like he had a residency there, and they said, "We don't want you anymore." He had a way of kind of shooting himself in the
I
foot.
always think what about that theory of, there is no bad publicity? Did that work for
No
him?
such thing as bad publicity.
There's bad publicity.
Well, you were with him around the time he got busted for pot in New York City, right? That was
I was with him. Yeah.
spring of 94.
Yeah, isn't that funny to
He
think?
got mad at me for getting drunk at Sammy's Romanian restaurant, and he goes and gets busted the next day. Trying to score a joint down in Gramercy Park. He would, drive around the city on bicycles. He goes, you know what? He goes, they hung 4,000 people on that tree. I said, I wonder what a guitar would sound like if you made it from the wood. I said, I don't think it'd make any difference. I paid a lot of money to be in New York.
Well,
And it was,
you
went way out of
you
his way
should
to go do a record there,
you should write a book about your
I
story.
could.
Yeah, you really should.
I know more than I should. I'll tell you that. I like watching. I remember introducing Edward to Norm Harris. Norm had all the guitars, right? Norm's rare guitars. Him and George Bloom controlled the world market. And Norman started out in Florida selling Sunburst Les Pauls for $450. And at the point when I got Edward those 259s, he paid $11,500 for both of them. And then he took the pickups out of them and he gave them back to Norm about 20 years later and said, Norm goes, I don't want them because I'd have given you $500,000 for them. He said, but you took the pickups out of them. So, that was like, he had some beautiful stuff.
if I can help in any way, I could, get you some contacts in the publishing business. And it's, if you're ever interested in that, Mark Kendall's got a book coming out from
Oh,
Ray
does
White.
he?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, man. It'd be great. So you got all the stories from the days growing up.
That was some funny shit. We used to go out on the marquee at the Troubadour and put all kinds of obscene words out there, and Doug West would get so pissed off. Edward was like, they weren't real popular with the management class. I mean, like I remember Rod Stewart, which we were watching a soccer game because I knew his hairstylist, and I went down to watch him play, and he goes, "Hey, this guy knows Van Halen." And Rod Stewart goes, "They're a bunch of dicks."
Jesus
Of course, Rod
Christ.
himself will tell you that he has very short arms and long pockets.
Yeah, he's been canceling some shows recently, Rod Stewart.
Rod Stewart?
Yeah, he's just having some issues. One
getting
show
old.
he had to put the thing to get oxygen in the middle of the
Really?
show.
Oh,
Yeah, he had to
that's
sit
upsetting.
down. I
I'm
hope he's
a huge
okay.
Rod Stewart fan. That was something
Yeah.
that you and I, when we
I
met,
think that he was
talked
one of
about.
the best performers out there live. He
Yeah.
was in his prime, 1977. They were on the
Yes.
money.
When we
And
started,
Faces
when we started
and
working together, we were thinking of the faces, the sound,
Oh,
and how
and-
people
and-
liked it.
his vocals
Dave
on
was right. He said, "I want you to do Too Bad" by the Faces.
right.
It's got the big piano intro with Nicky Hopkins. I use a guitar synth and simulate it because it's just block chords. And that song, you got to remember, these guys were playing stadiums back in 1973.
Yeah.
They were a stadium band. Ronnie Lane and Hiwatt built a 405 from a 405 watt, amp head that was just absolutely the outside of the envelope. I thought they did that because they played stadiums. They wanted to use one
They're one
amplifier.
of my favorite bands. Sure.
Well, his vocals on Jeff Beck's Truth.
Yeah.
I mean Morning Dew. Oh my God.
Who was
Phenomenal.
it that Jeff Beck, somebody gave Jeff Beck a bad time about the truth because the truth is the album. This is the truth about this album.
Yeah.
But I think he was the most brilliant guitar player to ever live. I think that
He's
nobody will ever
huge,
touch
yeah,
him.
Beck, yeah.
He's all by himself, man. I mean, he didn't influence that many people, but he influenced everybody
Right.
because you could touch the guitar the way he did. It was like a divining rod for him. I mean, he had it sounded like he could make it sound like a little sad animal.
Yes. Oh,
Community talking to you, he'd play along with little birds in his kitchen. I mean, he did some crazy
yeah. He did that on You Had It Coming. He's got that one where he's talking to, I think it's called Blackbird. And he's talking to the birds
he's
with his
talking to
guitar.
birds in his kitchen.
But the other thing I was going to say is if you get a chance, get that book by Brad and Chris, Blow by Blow. It's a really good book. It's a really good
I would
book.
like to read that. I read
Yeah.
the last one I read that was good was just recently, and I wasn't impressed with the writing. I think that somebody had a chip on their shoulder about Allah's books was not very informative to me. It was kind of like closed off. He talked about but all the people that really were in their lives back then are all dead. They were Titus with the Emerson brothers. They both committed suicide. I mean, their own cousins, they stole their platinum records. They thought there was real platinum in those records. I mean,
Stole them
I
off the
talked to his
wall
cousin.
in that little house there. They stole
Yeah,
them, right?
Los Lunas.
Yeah.
And I got blamed for it. And Edward goes, he was at the forum with me because they invited me down to, the first couple tours.
Yeah.
Well, they said they thought I was jealous or something. I was no way jealous. I was glad to get rid of those fuckers so I could get a gig. We got all the good gigs after that. We were the last big dog in town.
Oh my God.
The trouble was that my rhythm section was never as good as Alan Mike. Al was a great drummer.
Mm.
I stand by it. He was as much entertainment to watch as ever was because he had such attitude. I mean, energy those guys had. I remember Artie Agajanian's Raceway, Ascot was a big raceway out here. Artie Agajanian would throw parties down on Lombardy, this huge house that had 4 acres of land. And Al would play and he'd jump up on those drums and spit and drink Schlitz malt and then fight with somebody, spar with them all night long after the gig.
Wow.
They did ridiculous shit. I mean, John Bosco Tech, they said, Kerry, bend over and grab that for me. And I bent over and they had a smoke pot with about a quarter pound of gunpowder in it. It blew me right up the stage. I thought it was the funniest thing in the world. I thought, you guys are assholes. And Alex would drive up next to people on the freeway and pull his pants down, stick his ass out the window, and everyone would drive. Little secretary driving home from work, and all of a sudden you look over. They like to get a reaction out of people.
But see, this is the book. You've got the stories, man. You got to look. You got to
Man,
definitely consider that,
they used to
man.
do some, they played a place called Barnacle Bill's, and it was like something out of the Barbary Coast. I mean, if you could get the saliva off the walls, the nicotine stains on the ceiling were like you could smoke it.
Right.
The amount of beer that they drank, we used to call them alcohol and alcohol.
Mhm.
The old man was all, he played down at that, what is the Dutch, the Danish place down in Hawthorne that's got
Oh,
all the European, your dad probably went there. All the
Yeah.
European people went to these they played polkas, right?
yeah.
That's where Jan came from. But see, me and Ed did have the edge because we both had grandfathers that were woodwind players. And we played Jan Ackerman, Focus, Hocus Pocus, because Ackerman was fast. And we couldn't figure out what he's doing. And Ed's dad goes, it's a backwards diminished scale that's been notated. I thought, fuck is that?
Alpine Village.
Yeah, Alpine Village. And I was playing in my grandmother's house when I was about 14. And my grandfather comes in. He hadn't played at Boston Orpheum in Carnegie Hall for 20 years. What are you playing that Chinese music for? He's an old Italian guy that wears underwear all the way up to here. What are you playing that Chinese music for?
Is that that's your
Don't
mom?
you know what a sharp and a flat is? I said, no, Grandpa. I go, sit down. I'm going to show you something. He got out his clarinet and showed me how to do all 7 modes. And he goes, that's your diminished mode. You pay attention to that one. That's what you hop heads do now. They call us hop heads. You know what I mean? It was my mom goes, you're not letting those Van Halen boys in the house, are you? Tell them to take their shoes off when they come in here. And I remember going over to Ed's house on a Halloween. I was wearing a boiler suit, like Townsend used to wear the white,
Yeah.
a boiler suit.
You wore that the other
And I was yelling at him. I was yelling at him, and his mom goes, she's a Dutch Indonesian lady. She goes, "Oh, Edward, there's a spook by the fence." And I remember, Edward, somebody is over time to come in the house. He was very much a mama's boy, and he was that way with Valerie. The girl and Ed's life had control of everything. She had matriarchal. They come from a very matriarchal European family, and a woman dominates. I mean, Mr. Van Halen was always drunk, sitting in his fishing boat out in the yard.
Yeah, you wrote in the yard.
He played at Alpine Village with the clarinet, and they.
Did Ed boil his? Is it true he boiled his strings in his mother's?
What are you doing to those strings? You boil all the life out of them. They're dead when you put them on.
I knew another guy that did that.
We used the Floyd Rose without any fine tuners. So how the hell do you keep that in tune? You couldn't keep it in tune.
And did he also hang the guitars after they were painted on the clothesline? That's the stories that he would hang his guitar on his mom's clothesline.
What the hell are you doing with the electrical tape and Swin bicycle paint? It was white lacquer with black pieces of electrical tape that were done in a pattern. Say, hey, that's kind of neat. Then all of a sudden, it's like a Picasso thing. I mean, it's a trademark. But that took years. But he beat those guitars up something fierce. But I remember we played the last gig they ever played, Pasadena. I did an opener, and we were actually very good. But they went for broke. I mean, they played that night like it was the last night they were ever going to play a non-professional gig, and they did. I mean, they could have, that band could have broke up, but they stuck together and they worked 300 days a year for several years to get back what they didn't get from the Sex Pistols. Got all the attention. They were a bunch of fuck ups. I mean, look at Sid. He killed that woman. I mean, you can't.
But those tables turn. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
I have a bootleg of the Pasadena Civic, and Dave says this is the last show.
that's it.
This is the last show we're ever going to, because they just signed a one.
Smokehouse and Ready Kilowatt and Van Halen.
Well,
And it was they were different. I mean, like they got popular because they had such a draw. I mean, all the schools, Arcadia High, all the way down to Pico Rivera, they had a big promotional thing. People would go out, put 10,000 flyers out. And when they played, I mean, it's just all they'd do was show up. They played Guitarist all the time, which didn't, there was a lot of nights there was nobody in there. And then there was nights that Roger Waters and Richie Blackmore came in, and I said, "What are you gonna don't play out of tune?" It was like a half step out of tune. They played Firehouse by Kiss. I mean, it was all.
Back then they didn't even have tuners though, did they?
No, we didn't tune
There was no
guitars. I mean,
tuning.
just you tune them up and you played and that's it.
Exactly, yeah. That's why sometimes you listen to old albums and you hear they're slightly off, and it's kind of cool
Which is
in a
great.
way.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
keep the
agree. I agree.
mistakes.
That's one thing I don't like about modern studios is all the engineers, they want to take it and make everything perfect. And I'm like, "Dude, I don't want it to
Let's
be
say we do a
perfect."
song, you like it, and you play a really good verse, and you take that same verse and you thread it in all the other verse slots. It loses something. Doesn't
Yeah, I
have,
agree. Yeah. Yeah. And then like you never would have a Jagger
you
Richards,
put a stake through the teleporter.
harmony
thing, you
if you
know.
didn't, if you wanted it perfect. Like they would destroy that. So I always just let it be.
No, but you know how they recorded in the old days, like Procol Harum on the Home album, they did it live. They sang it and played it
Exactly.
live.
Yeah. You don't mess up. It's just like back in the big band era too, it's the same.
We had a good
You had
record
to have
store
the
out
whole
here.
band redo the whole
They
thing.
had outtakes from that Home album and they played it exactly. Everybody showed up, got in there and performed, no overdubs, no nothing. And you think, wow, that's how they used to do it.
And there was a drummer telling me recently that Charlie Watts was technically not perfect, but who better to play the Stones songs?
Charlie, you know what you couldn't do with Charlie? You could turn a metronome on him. He never went off the beat.
Never.
Yeah, he loves Charlie Watts. So do
I
I.
love Charlie Watts. I love
And
Charlie
And Ringo,
Watts.
that shuffle, you ever seen where Greg Bizinet explains it and all the drummers explain
Yes.
the Ringo thing? And it's just, it was his own thing.
Charlie would do that thing where he would it almost sounds like it's the sound of somebody like diving into the water. He'd hit the snare and then quickly. Yeah, it's a really cool effect to that. So, okay, this was phenomenal. This is fantastic. We were talking for like almost 3 hours here. This is so awesome.
I mean, I see some great stuff. The guy that I really think that really needs to get some credit here is Harvey Mandel, because he was like Jeff Beck back in Blow by Blow. He was doing instrumental music. His son was murdered by the Oakland police because his kid got into some trouble. But Harvey had a hard life, and he was a great guitar player. He got kind of stepped on.
Was he doing the finger tapping stuff as well?
He was on a Rolling Stones album, Black and Blue.
Black and Blue? Which song?
Stuff.
Oh my God, what a great song. I didn't even know that.
That's Harvey. That vibe is Harvey Mandel all the way.
Oh, okay.
Another one. And then that's when they were thinking about putting Harvey in the band. And then, naturally Ronnie Wood fit in a lot better than Harvey.
And you love Ronnie Wood. So do I.
And they thought about Jeff Beck joining the Stones.
Well, Harvey played with, what were they called? John Sugarcane Harris, the junkie, dead now. He's a fiddle player. But he would play with the Pure Food and Drug Act. That was a big act in LA back in 1971. But he had a neat sound. He had a really organic, kind of cool sound. And I knew his family really well because I took lessons from him. I adored the way he played. And he traded me for babysit my son Eric, and I'll give you some lessons.
All right, Terry, Kristy, thank you so much. I was telling Kristy to just send me all the links you guys want to send me so people can stay up to date on this album when it comes out, and then send me some tracks and we can play some.
I'll do the best I can to try to make some magic there.
He wants some magic. More magic. He's already made it.
Hell yeah. And will you be playing some of the Dave stuff live if you play Black Sand?
I really hope that I get a good settlement because then I can buy back some of this shit and record the way I want.
I invested in trying to get what he needs to record, and so we definitely are going to play live. That's not
cool.
It's all digital. It's going to end up on Midget P3 anyhow.
Yeah. Are you feeling optimistic about the lawsuit?
Oh, very, because you know what? They've proven them that they're all 26 towers were faulty. And the wind blew the derelict tower and molten metal went down the ground. They had an abatement thing they were supposed to clean up. They fucked up all the way around.
Terry's got it so cold in here. I put my sweater.
And they got $19 billion at the ready, and it's not even their money.
Sure. Is the lawyer telling you to be patient? Because those things get drawn.
Well, we were in a meeting and they started talking about how the CEO got a $16 million bonus for burning my house down.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah, the same year.
Froggy.
Yeah, if that's the case, but it's terrible.
Yeah, all the best for that. I mean, whatever I could do to help with that, man.
Italian.
Yeah.
You're from Connecticut. You got some WAP and some Irish in you.
I can't be made. I'm like De Niro. I can't be made.
I couldn't get made either. That's why I didn't say. Believe me, if I was back east, I'd have been in the crew.
Hey, small world story. Robert De Niro's aunt lived in my hometown. She was friends with my mom. She passed only a few years ago. She's like 90 something. But yeah, she lived right in town here. And he used to
That's
come.
cool.
Yeah, he would come by
Jump
and
on the long line of Eastern Democrats.
man, I'd love to meet you someday in person if you guys are coming
If I
around
get
East
a chance,
Coast
I
way.
get out that way. She'll be out that way tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh
She's
yeah,
going to New
cool.
York.
Yeah.
New York, okay, yeah, yeah. Get
I
ready
told
for
her
the
to go to
humidity,
find
man.
the tallest building you can and go as far up in it as you can so you can sleep.
Yeah, and then he's telling me all the places he stayed, and I'm like looking him up. I'm like, oh, I won't be staying in those places where you toured with
I
David.
think
You know?
Mayflower, my bill was like $5,600 every month. I said, why are we here?
Yeah.
Oof.
Go
Yeah,
home.
man.
Ocean's 7 miles away. I mean, Ocean's the best room we had there. It's an old supermarket. They turned into a studio.
Yeah, well, thanks again, guys. This was so cool, man. I'm just so glad we made this happen.
Thank you so much.
God bless, man.